might die tonight, but if I do, I'm a...
Love thyself.
Knowing there's a problem at hand to begin with.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Might Die podcast. This is episode 17. A little bit different today. We do not have Big Schmitto in the house. He's not here, but we got a guest, and that guest is Cooper Van Vliet.
What's up?
How are you there, brother?
Good. Just freezing me ass off in this
She's a bit chilly.
cold country.
Yeah, she's a bit chilly because you haven't really been in this cold country. We'll get to the where you've been.
Yeah.
I feel like we should just tap over the edge of everything in a nut. Like, how do you feel like? How long do you think it's been since we've? I was sort of trying to do some maths. We're probably like 6 or 7 years deep.
Probably. I reckon at least, yeah.
Was the first show we met, was that Yarrawonga one, the first show with the bag? Is that where we actually met first?
I think it would. Is that the one where we did with Brock Oakley and I was on the BMX?
Yeah,
and we were
yeah,
just doing toe-ins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, yous hadn't even jumped it properly yet.
Nah, that was, that was sort of the first real go. Yeah. I think that would have been it.
And then the rest was history, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be best friends ever since.
It's true. So I feel like I sort of, just for everyone out there watching, our sort of relationship too is I met your brothers doing some shows. There's 4 of yous. You got 4 brothers. Yous are all fucking moto head.
ADHD.
Yeah, hardcore. So that's why I get along with yous really well.
Yeah. If you get sick of one, you can just go to the next
And
one.
that's the best part. Like, yous are all the same, but yous have all got like different traits.
Yeah.
And like I can align with all of yous. It's real good. And you being the youngest brother.
Yeah.
So how old are you now?
24. Pretty much whatever year. Like, I'm born at the start of the year. So, like, well, not the year I was born, obviously.
Yep.
But yeah, just take off 2,000 years. And
Yeah, because you're a 2000. Yeah, because like for a
Start
while
of
there we were
2000.
calling you a Cooper 2000.
Yeah.
That was your nickname,
Yeah, it was
Cooper
a good
2000.
nickname.
Because he was born in 2000, and for dudes like me who are a bit old, that just trips me out.
Yeah.
So even that, you were 18 when we were first sort of kicking off. You were 17 even, maybe.
Yeah, because I definitely wasn't.
Driving
even when we were
anything?
doing like Koroit truck show and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I still didn't have my license. Like, Harry drove my van to that.
True.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So like I bought a high ace when I was either 16 or 17, and I couldn't drive it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very true. Okay. And even breaking that down, so what would you class yourself as? A pro quad rider or just moto in general?
I'd say moto in general.
Your whole brothers
just-
are very quad though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like if it wasn't for quads, we probably wouldn't be where we are.
Yep.
And then it just helps that we kind of dabble in a little bit of everything, whether it's got 2 wheels, 4 wheels. I'm sure if we found something fun with 3 wheels, we'd muck around with that. Like,
Yeah. It's that adrenaline.
anything with wheels, basically. I can't catch a ball, so ball sports were just out of the question for me.
I'm on you with that one too.
But
dude.
then,
I'm
like,
useless.
when doing like tricks on a BMX or doing the shows and stuff, like,
yeah, it was just
air
natural.
awareness is just like normal for me. Because
Yeah.
like I did gymnastics when I was a little bit younger,
True.
like just trampolining and stuff like that. I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
dabbled in the other stuff as well, but I wasn't that good at it. But
Right. I
when you
didn't know
could
that.
bounce in the air real high and do
Yeah.
flips and stuff, but then like they wanted me to do competitions and I had to wear like the full leotard, and 12-year-old me was just like, I'm not wearing that shit. So that's when it stopped.
Fair. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So, and I feel like the biggest topic we're probably going to talk... Actually, you know what I do need to touch on because I forgot all about it? Where are me stickers, cunt?
I honestly... you're talking about the ones that Mitchell made for you?
Yeah. He called me yesterday and
was-
he's like, you better fucking call this cunt lazy because you were there and you could have dropped them and brought me
Okay.
fucking stickers.
Okay,
Defend
so
yourself.
Saturday morning was the first time I found out about your stickers, and it was like 15 minutes from me leaving the farm
True.
to go to Tegan's house.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, you need to take these stickers. And I'm like, sweet, are they at your house or are they at the farm or something? He goes, no, they're in Warrigal. And I'm like, no, I'm like, if you go and grab them, I'll quickly take them. And he's like, no, I'm busy. So like, if the stickers were convenient, I would have just grabbed them. But
I'll
like,
let you off
they're
that
a
one,
detour
but-
to go and get them. And I was in Warrigal the morning of, and he's just like, no, I'm busy.
Fuck.
So it was just, if he told me earlier, like, I'm sure if I told him earlier that I was going to here,
Probably.
he would have
A
given
little
me
bit of
the stickers.
miscommunication. It
It
is.
was a little bit of no communication.
Just zero
I didn't know I
communication.
needed to bring the stickers, man. It's not like a normal conversation thing like Wednesday afternoon. Hey, man, Seamus needs some stickers.
True, it's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, might end up, I think he's coming down here in the next week anyway. So then I
Yeah.
was even saying to him, I might even even if I can tee up a fucking potty with him as well.
Yeah.
Then I was like, but then I have to go then I have to get the next 2 in the next
Yeah.
3 weeks. So it's like 4 weeks of Van Vliet's.
People get over that, eh? We're all the same.
Nah, you've got your little qualities, man. I'm telling you. You're
Yeah.
all a little bit tweaked out in a different way, and it's fucking good. I love it. Let's just, where you been? You've just come back from overseas. You've done a big fucking quad race. Technically, it's the equivalent to a Fink /
So
Dakar.
it's the same championship as Dakar. So originally the plan was to go to Argentina.
Yep.
To qualify for Dakar, with Dakar being my end goal, was you have to compete in a rally that's FIM approved and has to be at least 5 days of racing long. So they give you like a criteria saying like this is all the stuff you have to tick to be able to enter Dakar, and then entering Dakar is a whole nother
Really?
game as well. Like you can't just enter it.
You can't just rock up and fucking.
Like even if I've qualified for Dakar now.
Yep.
That doesn't guarantee I'll actually get a spot. So there's a limited amount of spots that you can even get in.
Wow.
So like I know one guy that won his entry. So certain rounds of the championship, they'll give different categories an opportunity to win their spot at Dakar.
Yep.
So one of my mates, Toby Hendricks, who's like up near Mildura way,
Yep.
he was actually at this race in Argentina as well. He raced Morocco last year because that was like a win your entry round.
Yep.
And he won it. So
True.
he's guaranteed to go to Dakar in January.
Right.
So-
Is Dakar every year?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dakar's every January.
Yep.
So yeah, I went to Argentina to qualify for Dakar basically. But yeah, doing it on a quad. But then probably it was at the Portugal round, which was round 3, I think, of the World Championship that they announced there's actually no quads at Dakar anymore. So they took the category out. So I was like, shit, do I still go to Argentina? Do I still try and do it? And then I was like thinking of all different options because that was sort of like my next, I was going to put all my effort into doing Dakar.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what, stuff it. I'll still go and do Argentina. Learn how to read because the road books are in French because it's traditionally a French race. So you used to race from Paris to Dakar. That's why it's called Dakar.
It used to be called Paris.
Now it's in Saudi Arabia. Like it doesn't even go to Africa at all.
Oh,
Doesn't go to
really?
anywhere
They've
Europe.
just changed the location.
It's changed heaps, yeah.
True,
So,
okay.
like originally it was in South America and all that sort of stuff. So some of the tracks that we did in Argentina were actually old Dakar,
Oh, yeah,
part of the old
sick.
Dakar course. So like they took the category out, and I thought, you know what, stuff it, I'll still go there anyway. Like I've already organised so much stuff for it. I've already paid for a lot of stuff.
Yep.
So I may as well just follow through with it, sort of thing. And yeah, like.
So in whatever happened there, like you won't go to Dakar unless you go 2-wheeler or a buggy or something.
Yeah, 2-wheeler or a buggy, but I was talking to, like, while I was over there, I was talking to a couple teams, and there's actually a Dutch team called Bas KTM, and they're based out of the Netherlands. So I was kind of thinking sort of, like, see where the next sort of couple years takes me.
Yep.
And if it happens, it happens. I'd love to do it on a bike. I want to do it regardless.
Yeah.
Like, obviously on a quad, I could get a decent result.
Yep.
2-wheelers, I got no idea how I'd go. Like, I could go really good. I could go really shit.
Yep.
Like lately, I haven't even been riding bikes too much recently at all. I've just been on the quad basically because that's sort of where the next sort of big part. I can't really call it a career. Like I wouldn't consider it a career. It's more like I just find stuff that looks like fun and just put all the effort into it and do it.
Yep.
So like if I stopped, I wouldn't be letting anybody down or burning any bridges or anything like that. So I wouldn't really call it a career.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like if I could line it up and do it, I would do it. But if I just stay on the quads, which is sort of where
You're at.
I'm at, the career is going.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of stuff that's sort of lined up, which I'll be able to talk about later and all that sort of stuff. But that's lined up from still doing this race. Because when I was on the flight over there, I was like, I've spent so much money to get here. I'm like, is this a good idea or is it a shit idea? But I'm like,
You're here now.
I'm on the plane. I can't stop now. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess you're always going to have those thoughts in those. Like,
Yeah.
It was a big move. Like, you obviously, like you said, you spent a lot of money. There's a lot of fucking logistics involved and all that
heaps.
sort of shit.
It's massive. And then like trying to figure out all the rules and regulations, how to set up bikes for that sort of stuff. Because like if you're all the sub-regs, they'll have an English version and a French version. And then because this race was in a Spanish-speaking country, there's a Spanish version as well. But it's like the sub-regs get written in French, and then they just like slap them into Google Translate for the English version.
Right.
So it's like you're reading it, and like we have to wear airbags now. So it's like Alpine Stars make them, and they helped me out with sorting me a vest as well.
Yep.
And it pretty much senses when you're crashing. So there's 3 different modes. There's like commute, off-road, and rally. So like if you have it on commute and you go rally racing, it'll set off while you're riding.
Like, so a jacket.
Yeah, so it's like, do you know those full like turtle shell off-road?
Yeah.
Where, like you go to ride park and you see these people peek down.
Yeah.
Turtle shell jacket. Like you feel like a goober chucking these things on, but like you open up the back of them, and I've actually got a funny story about going through the airport as well. You open up the back of them and they've got 2 pressurized canisters with like gunpowder. They ignite with gunpowder basically.
What?
And then they have like these twisty wires that go to like this PCB looking control board thing where like all the stuff's exposed.
Right.
And then like that's your gyroscopic sensor and impact sensor and all that sort of stuff. So like you pop the back cover of this thing and it looks like a bomb jacket.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So I had to go through the airport with this thing, man.
And they pulled you up?
They pulled me up.
Right.
But like, so they pulled me up. So pretty much when you go through an airport, you put your bag on the check-in thing. It goes.
Yep.
I'm sure it'll go through a scanner before it gets on the plane. It would have to be.
Yep.
But then when you get to a certain country, they have like their own security things as well.
Yep.
So I've gotten off the plane, grabbed my bags.
So you left Australia with a bomb jacket?
But like I calculated a little bit. I was like, there's an off switch on the inside of it, so it can't accidentally go off in your bag.
Yep.
But then I was like, you have spare canisters. So this is the confusing part with all the sub-regs and stuff. That's why I brought that up, because they were like, you have to take 3 sets of cartridges. And I'm like, does that mean, because there's 2 in a jacket.
Yep.
So does that mean I have to take 6 or does that mean I have to take 3?
Yep.
I get to the event and I took 3 just in case. And I was like, fuck, if I can buy some more if I need. Like Alpine Stars go to these events.
There should be, yep.
And they can give it to you if you need.
Yep.
Anyway, you only need 2. So the sub-regs didn't make any fucking sense. They never make any sense.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so like I've gotten to Argentina, I've grabbed my bag, I'm walking through, and then I'm like, there's another X-ray machine, and I'm like, I had a feeling, I'm like, they're gonna pull me up for this. So I've got 2 big OGO rigs, so like the 9800 gear bags, the same gear bags that everybody uses when they go overseas and stuff like that for racing. So I've got 2 of them. Like Jake let me borrow his new one. I had my current one that was pretty clapped out. So I had all my gear in that one, all my clothes in Jake's clean new one. Chuck it on the scanner. The first one goes through, which is the closed one. And I'm like, I'll let that one go through first because that way it's not going to be holding up all that sort of shit.
Yep.
Second one goes through, and then like I could see the lady sitting there, starts like looking up and looking around, and I'm just like,
fuck.
I'm like, I'm going to be able to, like, there's paperwork in my bag.
It's explainable.
As well. Yeah.
It's like, I don't have a bomb, but there's still that little bit of like, everyone thinks I've got a bomb for a second here.
Technically, I do, but it's not going to hurt anybody. It's a safety device, man. If anything, it's going to make the people safer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So they like pulled me aside, like this security guard came over and all that sort of stuff, and they were like quizzing me about it. They can't speak any English. I can't speak any Spanish. Oh. Usually I like to learn some of the language before I go to these countries, but I didn't have any time to learn anything. I was too busy learning French for the road books and all that sort of stuff.
Fair.
So, like they pull me aside, like another guy grabs my other bag as well, and like I went to like pick up my other bag, and they're like, no, don't touch it. I'm just like standing there, like I've got my helmet in my hand as well because I never put my helmet in my check-in.
True.
So I'm like, I've got my helmet with me. I'm wearing a Maxxis shirt.
Yeah.
Like I look like a motorbike rider.
Yeah,
Anywhere I go, stereotypical. I look like a motorbike rider. Man. So they've taken all my stuff to the side. They like opened it up, grabbed the bag. Like my airbag was at the bottom of the bag as well. So they've just like, I'm OCD with how my shit's packed.
Fuck
you know,
you're OCD.
Don't
very
touch my
OCD.
shit.
This kid.
My bag has to be packed a certain way and all that sort of stuff. They just like grab my airbag vest out, just like mush everything everywhere, and it's just made me instantly angry. But I'm like, I've got to be nice to these people because like they don't know it's going to annoy me, and they have my bomb in their hands. And then like they were questioning me about it, and then they were like showed me the scan on the computer and all that sort of stuff, and I was just like, luckily I had. Like the airports have Wi-Fi. So I've brought up a video on Instagram that Chucky posted about like how the airbags work. Because
Right.
he's like a proper, or Daniel Sanders.
Yep.
He races for Gas Factory and
Yep.
all the rally races. So I found a video of him ages ago and I remembered it. So I was like, if I have any issues, I'm just going to show him this video.
Yep.
So I showed him the video and then they were like a little bit confused and I was like, oh, I'm here for competition. Showed them like the website for the competition and it has like my name on it that I'm a competitor and all that sort of stuff, and showed them my passport that the name matches, and they've got a photo of me on the website and everything. So once I showed them that, they were just like, okay. And they were like, good luck. And then just gave me like 2 thumbs up. And I'm like, you're going to help me pack up all my shit?
Clean my shit back
But
up.
yeah, like, dude, the back of these things, like you take off the back cover and it's like, if you don't know what you're looking at, you're like, that's a bomb vest, man.
Okay, so this unit now, I'm fucking intrigued. You own one of these?
Yeah, so like if
Can you bring it round and I can crash purposely and it'll... Can I test this thing?
if you replace the canister, because the
Fuck yeah.
canisters are like $200 each.
Oh,
yeah.
but that's a pretty... I'll pay $200 for a 6 stunt.
Yeah, dude, go for it, man. You won't, like, you can't, like, I had a pretty gnarly crash when I was there.
And it worked?
It went off.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of, it just feels like it's like your arms do nothing. Like there's no, it's just, it kind of has like a bit of the bladder that goes over like your shoulders. So it kind of like you can't wear a neck brace. Like they tell you can't wear a neck brace with this thing. So it kind of works as a neck brace itself. So it has like 2 big bladders that go all the way over. And then it goes like kind of around the back of your ribs as well. So like your torso is all it protects. So it saves you from getting like...
So you can still snap an arm or a wrist or a leg.
Yeah, you can still break shit.
It's more that like
It'll stop you...
hard torso impacts.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, if you crash in these situations, like in these races, you can be stranded there for ages, and usually it's another competitor that will stop for you.
Right.
That'll save your life, basically.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Like we have it's called an Era Track, and it's basically a sat phone emergency beacon tracker sort of thing that's on your bike.
Yep.
So you can 2-way communicate through it.
Yep.
So it just works like a sat phone. So you can say like, hey, this rider's fucked up.
Yep.
You need to send a helicopter ASAP. And then within 5-10 minutes, there'll be a helicopter there.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
In like best case scenario, 5-10 minutes, there'll be a helicopter there. Worst case scenario, you'll be waiting 15 minutes.
Yep.
But most of the time, like you get some pretty gnarly training at the race before.
Yeah, right.
Before the race starts.
Like they put you in it to be like, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like they tell you how many helicopters they have. They've got surgeons at these events. Like they're pretty...
Fuck.
Like there's a few people that like all the pro riders that are doing every single round are still fighting for some better medical stuff.
Yep.
But like there's like 2 surgeons, heaps of medics, heaps of 4-wheel drives that are out there that have got medics in them.
Right.
There's like planes and shit. Like there's it's
big.
Yeah, it's like the entry fee cost me like $7,500 just to enter this race.
Holy
Yeah.
fuck.
So like it's a gnarly race.
Yeah,
And like
right.
it's so official. Like it kind of makes every race in Australia that I've been to not like it's a completely different level.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes every race in Australia look a bit like a joke.
Right.
Like
even things like Fink and that.
Yeah. Like
Really?
Fink's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, like I'm not putting the races
fuck
down,
yeah.
but it's just a complete.
And it's our way. It's probably is it because it's a bit
No,
Aussie
no.
way? We just like we're a bit like nah, we'll be right.
No, I think it's just like most of the competitors that you have in Australia are just like
Me,
I'm going
Just-
there to
yeah,
finish.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like for
yeah.
Fink,
Just
for
yeah,
example.
Joe blows like
You've
fuck
got
yeah.
your top sort of 50 riders that are all going there for a top 20,
Yep.
and then you've got your top 5 that are all battling for a win.
The rest
But
are
then
just
you've
old
still got
moto
500
dudes.
competitors that are
Yep.
just your general dude that'll,
Yep.
you know, he probably won't even get into 5th gear
Yeah.
for that whole race.
Like you said,
So
it's just a finish thing. It's
just
like a pat on the
different
back for
level.
yourself to be like,
Yeah, but
I've
then
ridden
like,
Fink.
yeah, but then to go to these races, like we're doing 2,000 kilometers. Like we're racing anywhere between 4 and 6 hours a day of just
Wow.
like actual racing.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like that's where it's different. Like that's where you've got. I think it's like they max it at like 120 competitors for this race.
Yep.
So it's like you're at a world championship event racing with, you know, I'm getting overtaken by cars that are doing like 170 k's an hour and shit like that because the cars start behind us
Fuck.
and stuff like that. So it's like proper shit can go wrong with this race because there's 120 riders
Yep.
that are top level riders that are trying to do the best they possibly can. So the speeds are higher, the dangers are bigger.
Yep.
The course isn't marked. Like I hit a dog in one of the
What?
stages. Like there's just stray dogs on the track and you just hit them.
Bullshit.
We got warned one morning. They were like, "Oh, at 192.7 kilometers, there's going to be horses," and I'm just like, "Okay, sick." And they're like, "But they might be there, they might not, or they might be 10 k's further." And I'm just like, "Well, how the fuck am I meant to remember that?"
We got to go back to the dog.
Oh yeah,
So wild dog.
yeah, just like street dogs, man.
Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah,
And
like they're everywhere.
It's just in the middle of the track, and you're like, move.
Oh, dude,
Or you don't even see it. Just happened.
I
Bang.
saw it at the last second. Like
Boom.
the dog just ran out in front of me, and I just went, boom. And then I'd like, dude, I felt bad. Of
Course,
I felt bad. Like I ran
yeah.
over a dog.
Do you didn't send you off or anything?
Nah, dude, within 30 seconds, I forgot it happened.
Yeah.
And then like later that night, I was like,
Oh shit! That
I
happened.
hit a dog. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Because like the information that you hang on to and stuff like that, like as weird as it sounds, like the dog is just irrelevant.
I get that. Yeah, you're surviving almost.
Yeah.
You're fucking in just straight.
So like
adrenaline survival
I
mode.
Felt the dog. Like it wasn't a small dog. It wasn't a big dog.
Yeah.
Like probably a little bit smaller than Carby.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. And then like it's just normal. Like there was other stages in the slower sections where there was like a massive pig in the middle of the road.
No.
But like I was in third gear going around a corner just like "Brr," and then it was just a pig. Like it's just you just see random shit. I saw horses in one of the stages at the start. It was like stage 1 or stage 2. We were at like super high elevation.
Yep.
And like there was a sign and I was like, that's a you know how it's like kangaroos are in the area or there might be a deer or you know, you're in you're in the hills, so there might be a wombat.
Yep.
This was like that's a puma. There's a sign with a puma on it.
Bullshit.
I'm like, dude, I want to stop and try and find a fucking puma.
Fuck.
And
or don't
yeah,
stop because there's a
like,
fucking.
I saw the sign and I'm like, that's a mountain lion for sure. And then I got back to the team. Like, you finish a stage, you have to ride like 150 k's back before you get back to the bivouac, and you debrief with the team and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, I saw a sign with a mountain lion on it, and they were like, mountain lion? Are you sure? I'm like, dude, 100%. And they were like, hang on a second. They quickly Googled the sign, and they're like, the sign looked like this. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, no, that's for pumas. And I'm like, that's way cooler than a mountain lion. I thought the mountain lion was cool. And they were like, yeah, there's pumas. There's pumas up there, man.
Nah.
Yeah, legit.
Fuck no. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like the rarest, like sick race, but like some of it, I'm like, man, I wish I could just stay here and just keep experiencing this shit because it was just like everything was rare.
But you're moving through it so fast.
Yeah,
You sort
dude,
of have to.
I went past the sign at 130 k an hour. Like we're limited on a quad to 130 k's an hour.
Yep.
Not like a quad, you can maybe get to 140, 145. So you're not going to go much quicker than the speed limit anyway.
Yep.
So like, yeah, the bikes are limited to 160. The cars are limited to 170.
True.
And then side by side, so like your Yamaha or your Polaris
Yep.
Pro XR or whatever the
Yep.
Polaris Pro R and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the quads we're limited to 130. So like, yeah, like you're going pretty fast past these things. And I was like, dude, I want to stop and find a freaking puma.
Yeah. Or not. I
Or
don't know.
not.
I would be like, I want to see a puma, but I want to be moving.
Yeah, but like, imagine if I blew up my bike. Like
You're stuck there in a fucking puma car.
one of the VL brothers. So there was 4 of us on the team. I paid to be on this team.
Yep.
Pretty much most of the riders pay some form of fee to be on this team.
Yep.
So there was myself, Ashita, the chick on the team, and then there was Faku and Nanu,
Yep.
VL brothers. Yeah, dude, their names are rare.
VL brothers, like
Yeah,
Turbo?
VL.
Turbo VL? Or
Yeah, pretty much, like
Really?
VIEL. Yeah, but the coolest thing was the youngest, there's 4 of them. The youngest is 24, the next one up's 28, the next one up's 30, and the next one up's 32. So it's like literally an Argentina version
Of you
of our
guys.
family.
That's weird.
Yeah. But the thing is like they're farmers,
Yep.
but for like crops, and
Right.
they all work on the farm. And when I first met them, I'm like, do you guys fight when you're working on the farm? And they're like, yeah, we want to fucking kill each other. But then 30 seconds later, we're friends again. I'm like, you guys are us.
Bro, and if I've seen that firsthand,
It happens, man.
bro, it's crazy. You dudes just eat each other alive, and then the next second, you 2 of you are friends picking on the other one, and
Yeah.
then 3 of you are friends, and then next
Oh,
thing you know,
dude.
all 3 of you are like, all 4 of you are like, you want to have a go at my brother? Come on, we'll all fucking smash you. It's like, are you,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Anyway, what I was bringing them up for. So Nano, the younger brother,
Yep.
he ran out of fuel with like 20 Ks to go.
Right.
And he was in the area where the pumas were.
No.
And I was like, dude, like, is it scary? Like, I asked him, I'm like, what's the wildlife like before I got there so I can see what it's like compared to Australia? And they're like, oh, there's nothing. I'm like, you guys have pumas. And I'm like, not only that, your mate's stuck there. Like,
yeah, what?
imagine if he's like, oh, you know, one rider out of the race, he got attacked by a puma.
And like, well, like you have a bit of an injury and there's some blood, and the old puma goes, he's coming for you.
Yeah, I asked and they were like, dude, apparently there's like 6 of them that live there.
Okay, so
And I'm like,
they're rare.
They're rare. And
Okay.
he's like, people that live on that mountain, like, never see them.
Yeah, right.
And I was just like, yeah,
Because when they see them, they eat them.
yeah, like if you have seen a puma, it is too late. You are under attack.
Oh, shit. What I was going to say sort of earlier too, how do you prep for something like that?
So you kind of, it's hard. Like I was kind of going into it a bit unknown.
Yep.
So I've done rally racing in Australia. So,
I was going to sort of go,
yeah,
so you've
so
done a lot of it
there's-
before anyway.
So I'm not the biggest. I enjoy motocross.
Yep.
I don't focus on it.
Yep.
You know, I'll do like the local regional championship to kind of support the sport.
Yep.
But if there was like a motocross club round at Ballarat or whatever, I'd just be like, no, I'm good. I'd rather go into the desert or go for a bush ride or something like that. Like I find that stuff more enjoyable because growing up, you race the same 6 tracks and every year you go to those same 6 tracks 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
So it's like I kind of just got over it.
Yep.
And it's a lot of it's when you sort of get to the higher level, it's like if you can spend 10 grand on your motor, you're going to spend 10 grand on your motor and then you've got to spend more money to maintain and replace pistons and all that sort of stuff. Like it just gets out of hand. Where with desert, like you can be competitive with a stock motor. Like as long as your bike handles well, you're competitive. So it kind of brought the enjoyment back to it. So like think desert race, the GNCC championship, Pony Express events that aren't even important. Like they were just more enjoyable. Then it kind of got to a point where there was no quads at Fink anymore because of the insurance purposes when that spectator got hit by a buggy and kind of turned a lot of stuff to shit. And it's progressively kind of getting worse and worse and worse for events. Like you can't... I raced Golden Beach last weekend, which is a 6-hour race near Sale in Gippsland. And it's like a team event. You can do it Ironman if you want, but that's dumb. It's like it's super tight and just like whooped out sand. So you're doing that for 6 hours. It's not that fun to do one lap. It's just the vibe is fun. Anyway, so like I've completely forgotten what I was saying. Yeah, so like those type of races are more enjoyable. So then, like that's why I brought it up. You can't spectate at that race anymore. You can't go out into the field and watch it. Same with GNCCs. There's like spectator zones, but you can't just wander out into the bushes and
just sort of
spectate.
sidetrack it.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is like when you're out in the desert and you see spectators, like it's so much fun.
Yeah, well, everyone said that a lot at Fink.
Yeah.
They like, man, this is, you hit these points where you fucking, you're
if there's
about to like give up
spectators
and die and you pop over a hill and some dude's going, woo!
Yeah, in like a morph suit. And like, or they'll have... Like, I think at like the 60-kilometer mark, there's like the bar or the tavern or whatever it is, and they have this inflatable castle. And they just get fucking smashed while they're out in the desert. But when you see those people, it like gives you that extra... It works better than taking an energy gel or...
True. Just pure
like
people adrenaline. Like people energy, man. Like, you got this. I fucking hope I do.
100%.
Sick, huh?
Yeah, so like ever since that sort of happened, it kind of took a lot of it away. But then... but I just still love desert racing. Like the fact that you'll go around a corner, whether you hit that corner good or bad or whatever, you'll never go through that corner again.
Yes.
Like Fink's a little bit different. So it's been the same track for almost 50 years or whatever it is now. But with like rally racing, you only ever see that spot once. With GNCC, the track's different every single year and stuff like that. So that kind of where it led to.
I feel like I get that. I'm like that. Like, I'm like, you take me to a track and I've done 2 laps. I'm like, I'm fucking bored. Take me out the bush and I'll ride all day. Keep,
like when you came bush riding, it's so much more fun than
fucking
riding.
love it.
That's like, it's kind of, I'm going to sound super ungrateful right now, but like we've got a track in our backyard.
Yep.
If you ride that 2 or 3 weekends in a row, you're kind of over it.
Yeah.
And
I
like,
feel
it's
ya.
a sick track. Like
Yeah.
our track's unreal. Like everything on a quad, you hit everything pinned.
Yep.
Like that's how you gauge the speed of the jumps is like, if you hit it pinned, you won't case it and you won't overjump.
Yep.
If you make a slight mistake going into that jump, you'll case the shit out of it.
Yep.
So like, it's a sick track. Like it's super unique, super flowy, super fun. You ride it 3 weekends in a row and you're just like,
Still
let's
rather,
change the
and
track.
like you said, you still rather go out in the bush and have a set and just keep riding.
Yeah, but like, I don't want to sound super ungrateful for it. Like
Yeah.
my brothers will give me shit because they're always like, "Oh, we rip the track and you just ride it. You never help." Like, no matter how much I help, they'll still give me shit for it.
Of course, you're
Especially
the little brother.
Jake.
Yeah,
Jake's
you're the little brother.
Yeah.
You were born in that family to cop it by the,
Yeah.
the other three.
Yeah,
It's
but
fucking funny.
yeah. So it kind of just started leading into rally racing. So rally and desert and enduro. So then we've got a really, really close family friend. He's basically like a second dad, basically, which is Victor. So he's been to a few. You've met Victor
Yeah,
before.
good cunt.
Yeah, like you meet him once and he'll fucking sell his kidney for you.
Fucking oath he would.
Yeah.
He's like literally one of those dudes.
Yeah, so he got me into rally racing. He didn't really get me into it. I kind of picked his brain on it, and he's just like, "Come and do it." He's like, "Build a bike." Kind of took that too literally. Like I spent so much money building a bike. Like I went all out because I thought,
Of course you did.
If
All
I'm-
the nicest, shiniest, fanciest parts.
Yeah.
Fucking.
I love building bikes, man. It's
Yeah, I know,
sick.
it is.
And when you own a parts company, it's just really easy because you have so many catalogs at your disposal, and it just happens.
True.
So like I built a bike and I thought, well, if my end goal is Dakar and I'm going to ride, like pay to ride for a team and rent a bike, I'm going to build an identical bike in Australia to what I'll be riding at Dakar.
Yep,
So I'm
nice.
used to it. And then that way, my suspension, I can take over there and it will bolt straight in.
Yep.
So,
Nice.
so like I ended up doing Condo 750, which is in Condobolin in regional New South Wales.
Yep.
And it's just like a 2-day rally, 750 Ks, like pretty small.
Yep.
But at the time, I'm like, dude, 750 Ks in 2 days. Like,
Yeah,
that's like doing 2 things.
Yeah.
And like, I learnt a lot. The terrain was pretty easy. Like, it's not like Think.
Yep.
Like, you can do this whole thing sitting down and just cruise through it and not even break a sweat.
Right.
But if you want to go fast, then it's like you go fast and there's road books, your bikes. Like my quad for rally racing, my motocross quad weighs like 130, 140 kilo.
Yep.
My rally quad full of fuel weighs like 240 kilo.
Fuck.
Because we carry 40, like my bike carries 42 litres of fuel.
Yep.
And then we've got like the big nav tower. And then the quad that I do rally racing on is pretty much like a Yamaha 10RA 700, but a quad.
Yeah.
So like it's a big single cylinder 4-stroke 700cc quad that Yamaha makes.
Yep.
But then it's just got like every part you can possibly put on it.
Yeah. Right.
So like my motor's relatively stock. Like I've got a piston, head's cleaned up a little bit, got a cam, and then like vortex and exhaust and an air boot and all that sort of stuff. But like it's all stuff that you can buy off the shelf and stuff like that. But there's still suspension, A-arms, subframe, airbox, so much electrical work you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got so many custom parts when it comes to like the fuel tanks and stuff because you want it to fit how you want it to fit and work how you want it to work and be easily accessible. So like if I break a part on the side of the track or whatever,
Yep.
I want to be able to pull my fuel tanks off quickly so I've got access to everything.
Right.
So like my fuel tanks, I can take like my 2
They're
side
all on, like
pods.
switch levers, like
Yeah, just like a little quick connector. The pump to go into my main tank is external, so I just like literally disconnect the quick connector
wow.
and undo 2 little clips and my fuel tanks come off. And
Fuck, that's the Mad Max shit.
Yeah.
You seen the new Furiosa? How they
Dude, I
fucking
haven't seen it
they're
yet,
swapping
eh?
shit out and that they swap wheels and that. It's like fuck, that's
yeah,
sick,
I haven't
dude.
seen it yet.
That'd
Well,
be
you
relatable.
know the Zerubs, the Monster
Yeah,
Truck
he
guys?
did all.
Yeah, he did all. The
I've
Monster
actually
Truck
been
stuff for
speaking
them.
to him just quietly. I'm trying to get him on here so we
Yeah.
can talk Mad Max and Monster
Yeah,
Trucks.
because once you get him talking about monster trucks, man, he won't
Like,
stop.
he loves it.
Like, but the thing is, like, you ask a little kid about monster trucks, they're just like, yeah, they're sick and all that sort of stuff. Where he's just like, he builds them.
Yeah,
so
he gets
he's
into
just
that
like,
nitty gritty of it all.
next level. Yeah, and they're super interesting to, like, I like engineering and how things work and why people do things a certain way when it comes to building stuff. And dude, like looking at his monster trucks, it's just like I'm a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
And then I can talk to him, and his old man is literally a mad scientist.
A proper. Yeah.
He has a tank that he built from scratch.
Yeah.
That's like on tracks.
Like
and has
he reminds me of fucking like Doc from Back to the Future.
Yeah, dude.
Like he's
if
just
time
got that
travel
vibe. Like,
is possible, he would have
doing
figured
it,
it out.
and he's going to do it in a monster truck.
Yeah, and he won't have to go 88 miles an hour either. He'll have to go way so.
And he'll do it wheeling.
Yeah, and like one thing, I don't know if he's still developing it or not, but he's building a motor that's not a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke, but it's a 3-stroke.
Bullshit.
And it's like, he explained it to me, and he's just like, yeah, man, it's like this super simple thing. Every part sort of swaps out really easy. And he's like, it detonates on every 3rd stroke. Or like, it makes no sense how a thing could handle on the, like, explode on the 3rd stroke, because it'll be at the bottom of the stroke.
Yep.
But he explained it, and he's just like, yeah, there's a decomp valve. Like,
Heck
it just went over the top. Like, I'm pretty smart when it comes to that sort of stuff, and this went straight over the top of my head.
Full mad scientist, eh?
Proper mad. Like, he's building motors from scratch.
That's insane. Proper.
But so that's sort of like how I got into the rally thing, and it kind of just went from there. But like, it just kind of went quick. Like, I only started rally racing like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and now I'm
true.
jumping straight.
So you were probably more motocross and stuff.
Dude, I was full motocross growing up. Yeah, like bikes and quads.
Yeah.
You know, like I was never really focused on motocross as a senior. So like, I only ever really got into B grade as a senior. I never went to A grade.
Yep.
But I just always entered the A grade class because it was funner. I'd rather be mid pack in A grade than near the front in B grade, if that makes sense.
True. Look at you go. It's not even about the competition. It's about it's about the ride.
It's fun, man.
Yeah, go on, bro.
Yeah.
Sick.
So it kind of just, like 2-3 years ago, I never would have thought I'd be into rally racing, but it's just like, I crossed the finish line. I'm like, fuck, was that worth it or not? And then like half an hour later, I'm just like, that was sick. I want to keep going.
Well, I guess that was sort of going to be mine. Well, how we'll tap into like, how did it all go?
Yeah. I'll explain every stage pretty briefly, and I'll explain how I felt at the end of it.
Yep.
Because during it, like, I just had so much bad luck in the race.
Right.
So I'll explain like a normal day of the race.
Yep.
And then I'll explain how I went in each day. So each day during the actual race, you start at the bivouac. So it's like the pits.
Yep.
But the pits will be at like Melton Showgrounds, for example.
Yep.
But then you'll race from like here to Ballarat or Bendigo. So you'll leave the bivouac at, first rider might leave at 5 or 5:30 in the morning.
Yep.
Depending on where each rider will take off a minute after the next, if that makes sense. So depending on if you got third that day, you'll be taking off 3 minutes after the first bike.
Yep.
Or 2 minutes, sorry. So you'll leave the bivouac. You might have to ride anywhere between 50 or 250 kilometers just to get to the start line.
What?
Yeah, so you don't start at the bivouac. You ride from the bivouac or from the pits or the showgrounds or whatever. And this might be in Melbourne CBD. So you'll be at like Melbourne Showgrounds, and you have to ride through Melbourne, go out into the desert, get to like Ballarat.
Like
where the
actual
start
city.
line is.
You're actually in cities?
Yeah, we're in cities.
How can you legally do that?
Dude, we're a world championship, man. It's Argentina. It's like,
you're on roads and everything?
Yep. The only rule,
gangster.
The only rule that we technically have to obey, otherwise we get penalised in the actual race, is we have a speed limit of 110.
Right.
And that doesn't matter if you're in a fucking school zone or whatever. We don't get a time penalty
There's
if we go through red lights.
These roads, have these roads been blocked off, or you're on the road with cars and
we're
that?
We're just with cars.
Fuck off!
Trucks and, but the coolest part is like, as a motorsport is so respected over there, and they are so proud to have that big of a race in their own country, that they treat you like royalty. So if you're merging on, every single car will get out of your way.
Really?
Yeah. Roundabouts, they'll just stop in the middle of a roundabout and wave you through.
That is insane.
Yeah, so it's like, it is such a breath of fresh. Like, you tell, like, I've had I've had discussions with people in Australia that they've figured out that I'm a motocross rider or I race motorsport or whatever. And they're like, do you know how bad your sport is for this planet? And I'm like, You drive a fucking petrol car.
Yeah.
You drive an electric car. Like electric cars.
Those sorts of people are bad
Yeah.
for this planet.
Yeah, they make it so much worse. Like your car has tires. You realize how much pollution tires make to this planet? Like you drive and you're leaving microplastics in rubber.
Every
everywhere.
time you eat Maccas, there's fucking rubbish. There's junk. Like, shut up.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah. So anyway, over there, they are so proud to have a motorsport in their country that they love it.
Sick.
Absolutely love it.
Yep.
So yeah, so you'll leave the bivouac at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. You'll ride anywhere between 50 and 150 to 250 Ks just to get to a start line. You have so you get given a time card when you leave the bivouac. So you have a certain amount of time. So if you have to ride 120 Ks, you get given 2 hours to do it.
Yeah, right.
So that means you can stop on the side of the road and take a piss. You can, if there's, one morning we had to ride 250 kilometers to get to the start line, and I went 100 kilometers, stopped, took a piss, warmed up my hands. It's freezing fucking cold, man. Proper freezing.
Bro, it's not like it's fucking couple of Ks up the road.
Nah, dude.
200 K, that's a normal race here.
Yeah, and that's just it doesn't affect your time whatsoever. Like if you did it if you sat on 110 the whole time and got there as quick as possible, it doesn't matter as someone that stopped twice to take a piss, stopped at the servo to refuel their bike or, whatever.
Why don't you start at the start line?
Because that's not the point, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Like you're going to be out in the desert the whole time? Like, I don't know. You just
because that's sort of, it brings you back into town, sort of, I guess.
Yeah, and like cities and sponsors get exposure and all that sort of stuff. Like I think that's how it worked back in the day anyway. Was like you rode to the start line.
Yep.
But like you'll be riding along a highway and then like you don't have a GPS either. Like we have a GPS, but it doesn't tell us where to go. It tracks us and lets us know if we. So there's visible waypoints. Simple version of the race. There's visible waypoints and invisible waypoints.
Right.
So an invisible one, it doesn't beep or anything like that. It just lets the promoters or the officials know that you're going the right way. You haven't cut the course or anything like that. And then there's visible waypoints, which will be on your road book. And as you go through them, they'll beep and let you know that you have gone through checkpoint 14 of 73.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's like you play MX versus ATV Unleashed and they have, like you do the waypoint races and you have the glowing orb.
Yep.
We have an invisible glowing orb that once we ride through it, it'll beep.
It'll tell you that you've done that. Wow.
Yeah. So, so like we follow, it won't say straight. Sometimes it says like if there's it says Melton on this sign, your road book will say the sign says Melton and turn off there, for example. So like, you follow the road book, you get to the start line. We still haven't seen the road book for the actual competitive part for that day. You don't see that until 5 minutes before you start.
Wow.
So we have a digital road book now.
Yep.
So the top 15 in the World Championship have the option between using a paper scroll or a digital road book.
Yep.
But for my category, it's mandatory that you use a digital road book.
Right.
So that's their way of saving the planet. They're printing this paper, basically. But then they're using a tablet that...
And lithium for the batteries. But
it runs off the bike. So it's there's
really
no
good.
extra battery. Oh, it has an inbuilt battery, but it only lasts like 6 hours or something. Like it lasts bugger all.
Even like you said, like going back, like before that, they had a scroll. So you're telling me these dudes had like a...
Yeah, so it has a motor in it. So it's like you can only see 3 tulips at a time. So a tulip is like the row of instructions.
Right.
So you can only see 3 at a time. And usually once you tick one off, there's a trigger here on your handlebars and you push the trigger and it will scroll automatically.
Can you go back?
You can go back, but they don't like going backwards. They'll bind up and go all
yeah.
shitty and slow and all that sort of stuff.
True.
So it's like, So, but with the tablets, I can tap it once and it will scroll perfectly to the next tulip.
Yeah, okay.
And then also that tablet is running off the same GPS that was used to make the track. So it's like super, super accurate.
Wow.
So on your screen, I'll use this as like, this is kind of similar size. Can you see that if I hold that up like that?
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah.
Yeah, that works perfect. So the Spotify logo is your distance.
Yep.
The YouTube logo is your how many waypoints you've ticked off, your current speed, and your speed limit.
Yep.
And then this one will be a cap heading. So your cap heading is like your 360 degrees of north. So it's like a digital compass.
Okay, yeah.
And then this will be your three rows of instructions.
Yep.
So usually if you have that up the top on the screen and you're not running external digital trip meters or whatever,
yep,
you can run 3.
Yep.
But for my one, because I was running it all on the one screen, so my nav tower was actually smaller.
Yep.
I would have 2, and then the bottom one would be like shrunk in size. So you can kind of read it, but you might be 30 kilometers away from that instruction anyway. You could be 300 or maybe 3 kilometers from it.
Yeah, right.
So so like then when you get to the start line, that all unlocks and shows you the competitive part. So you can quickly, like, I'll sit there for maybe 1 or 2 minutes because you've got 5 minutes before the race actually starts. You need to get your time card checked. They unlock it, all that sort of stuff. You might be making sure that your hydration bladder is all run correctly so you can drink it while you ride, all that sort of stuff. And so I'll quickly flick through it and look at the first like 50 kilometers just to see if there's any weird stuff.
Yep.
Any speed zones and all that sort of stuff or whatever. And then once you start, everything resets for you. So your trip meter will go back to 0. All your waypoints will go back to like you've scanned none, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And then you just start racing. And then you might have, like, the smallest day was 230 kilometers, but that was like the last stage. But it was one of the, I think it was like half of the first stage, but backwards.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we kind of go like around a bunch of different cities for this race. But yeah, so like once you take off from the start line, most of the time you might stop once or twice during the stage to refuel the bikes.
Yep.
And it's mandatory that you stop for at least 15 minutes. Oh, it's mandatory that you stop for 15 minutes for refueling for a safety thing.
Yeah, okay.
And then, so it's like a little pause, like a little break.
Yep.
And then other times you will have a neutralization. So that means you're the start of the refueling zone will be at 220 kilometers.
Yep.
And then the start of the competitive zone again might be at 310 kilometers. So you've got to ride on the highway. It doesn't affect your time. It's just like a brief pause in the race.
Wow.
So you can like ride, get fuel from the organisation, like FIM will have a big tanker out there that basically Mad Max spec, that part is. Because like half of these refueling trucks, you're like, I don't want to get fuel from this thing.
Really?
Yeah. And I'll explain how I went in one of the stages where I actually got bad fuel. And I've kicked that again.
That's how you're, bro.
Yeah, and then you refuel, you might ride another 100 metres and your start line will be there again. Or you might ride 70 kilometres and your start line will be there again. And then you'll start the competitive again because you'll have like a little, as soon as you go into a neutralisation, a countdown clock will start going. And it might say 15 minutes because the refuel's right there and the start line's another 100 metres past it.
Right.
Or it might say an hour 30 and you've got 100 kilometres to ride.
Fuck.
And you've got to refuel in that 100 kilometres. So it's like every day is different.
Yeah.
Like they give you a brief in the morning that tells you what's coming up, any really big dangers and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
It's too much shit to remember. Like I just remember the stage distances and where the refuels are, how long the neutralisation is and how long of a time we get it. So I can sort of focus on my nutrition. But like prepping for it, it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
So that's like, and then once you cross the finish line, you might have 50 Ks to go back to the bivouac for that night, or you might have 250 again.
True.
So you cross the finish line, you're like, sick, now I have to ride an hour and a half to get back to the bivouac.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, it's different. And it's such a weird niche thing that a lot of people don't realise what's involved.
No, well, I
in
wouldn't
doing that. Because like, we're racing for 4 to 6 hours a day and we're on the bike from anywhere between 8 to 12 hours a day of riding. And we're doing this, like this race was 5 days.
Really?
Well, 5 days of the big proper stages.
Yep.
Yeah. So now that hopefully I explained that well.
Yeah, there's a picture out there. You've been painting a picture.
So the event goes for 7 days. The first day is just all your admin checks. They make you pose in front of a camera and look all fancy.
Get your photos.
All the photos. You get all your safety devices. So like your sat phone basically, your tracker, your GPS, and you get the tablet that has all your road book on it. So you get all that stuff. You have to pay a deposit. So if you smash it, it's paid for basically. And then after the event, they refund you that.
Yep.
So it's like, I've spent 35 grand to go to this race. And they're just like, oh, you have to pay the deposit. I'm like, oh, sick. How much is the deposit? And they're like, oh, it's $2,000 US.
You're kidding.
And I'm like, I have no money left, man. Like, I tapped my card and I'm like, please work, please work, please work. And it worked. And then I was like, oh, thank God. Checked my bank account. There was $3 in it.
No way.
And I'm like, this is a sign. It was meant to be. I'm meant to be here, man.
Yeah. Definitely.
Like now they give you all the deposits back and all that sort of stuff. Like I have other money saved and stuff like that. Like I wasn't going there using every single cent.
Yep.
It was close.
It
Was.
Scraping.
I definitely spent a lot more than half of the money that I have saved. So yeah, then so that's your first day, and then you can go and do like a what's it called? Like a shakedown test. So they'll give you like a 15-kilometer loop that you can go on to make sure that the bike is good, everything's working. We didn't do that because we tested like 3 or 4 days in a row before.
Yeah, okay.
So like I didn't need to go do the shakedown. It's pointless doing that thing so close to the actual race, dirtying another set of gear, giving the mechanics more work to do, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And the team that I rode for was amazing. So I rode for Mech Team, which is like a really big team in Argentina. I paid to be on it.
Yep.
And it ended up working well because afterwards we had a massive meeting and now I'm actually on the team.
Sick.
Yeah, so it was massive risk, worth it in the end.
Yep.
First day is your qualifying day, which they call prologue. Same as at Fink, how they call it prologue. I think it's like an off-road thing.
Yep.
And basically, that's a habit. Last time I was on a podcast, I said basically flat out I got bullied for it. So I'm going to
Basically.
Yeah. First, the prologue is you leave the bivouac, you ride about 50 Ks, you do a 17-kilometer loop or an 18-kilometer loop or whatever it is in this specific rally.
Yep.
And then you cross the finish line and then you've got to ride like another 80 Ks back to the bivouac.
Fuck.
It was super, super foggy. So half of the prologue, I was riding third gear, just cruising along because I couldn't see far enough ahead of me to know if there was a corner or not. And these corners, if you overshot them, were just death.
Yeah, right.
Like you are better off accelerating off the cliff so you guarantee that you will die.
Yeah, otherwise
Because if you
just
survive, you're in a bad way.
Yeah.
And it was actually a WRC stage from like when the WRC championship was in Argentina. So like actual rally cars.
Yeah,
the ones where they say left 2 over crest.
Yeah, full on fucking
all that sort of
course.
stuff. So we were on a course like that. There was like narrow bridges and stuff. I've come down a hill at like the 8-kilometer mark into this thing, and the fog was that bad that I didn't see a corner was coming up.
Yep.
And my brakes had already started fading.
Yeah, right.
Because it was just so heavy, and the way the brakes were run, like the brake lines were run, I think there was an air bubble in it as well.
Right.
So like they were getting a little bit worse and worse and worse, but they were still working really good.
Yep.
I've come down this hill, realised there's a corner there, went to get on the brakes, and I was going fast, and I needed all the brakes I could get to make sure I stopped for this corner, pulling the brake, and it just went straight into my fingers.
Oh,
like,
no.
It worked, but maybe like 10% power.
Oh, no.
So I've... Like
is that video that was on?
Yeah, that's that video.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, so I've pretty much started drifting, realised there's no chance for me stopping for this corner. It's that foggy that I can't tell if this is like...
a ledge or
a small cliff or I'm going to die cliff. So I'm like, I'd rather just send this bike off the cliff and me bail.
Fuck yes.
So I looked like the biggest goon, but from my point of view, I'm like full survival.
Right.
So
I was curious. I was like, why did you like just lay off it like that?
Yeah,
But that makes sense.
Yeah. So,
get the fuck off the bike.
Yeah. So
Bike's gone.
the bike's just cartwheeled down this hill. My airbag's gone off before I even hit the ground. So it was sense that I was crashing.
Wow.
I slid into like a massive boulder that if I wasn't wearing an airbag, I wouldn't have been too bad. I maybe would have broken like a rib or something like that.
Okay.
I would have winded the shit out of me. But the airbag was just like mint.
Fuck, how good.
Yeah. So
I really want to see one of these. I'm testing. We're doing an airbag test.
Yeah, go for it, man.
We're doing an
Just
airbag
ride
test.
your KLX 110 into a pole hard.
That's I'm just going to fucking send it and just jump off and go, you better work.
You will put it on like one of the lower modes. So
Yeah,
it's
true.
like guaranteed.
Guaranteed gonna go off. Yeah,
Because otherwise
being my
I'll
luck.
lose my shit laughing if it doesn't go off.
That didn't work.
Yeah, so I've like ridden off this cliff, like had to like parkour my way through this like rock garden. Like my trials bike would be so much fun in there because it was just like massive boulders.
Hectic in
Yeah,
there, right.
But like I'm parkouring my way to get to my bike. I get on my bike, I start it, like go to ride, and I look down because it's like not going anywhere. Like I'm stuck on something, and I'm like, yeah, I'm beached. Like I'm just framing out on a rock, and I look down, and the wheel's just like mushed back, like fully ripped the front of the quad off.
Really?
So I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna skull drag this thing to the finish line and just worry about it then. Because like once you cross the finish line, it doesn't matter how long you take to get back, as long as you're back within a certain time.
Yep.
So I've gotten it back up onto the road, realised I can't really ride this thing. we have like a spares thing and a tow rope underneath the seat, basically. So it's I said basically again. Toolbox, sort of little pouch thing under the seat, and it's just got like minimal tools.
Yep.
So it's 8mm, 10mm, 12mm, 14 on like a little bit of a longer sort of T-bar. So if you needed steel lug nuts to use on other wheels or whatever, you can do that. So I got the tow rope out of it, tied the A-arm up so it was like not getting stuck on shit.
Yep.
Got going again. I think I qualified second last. Like there was a dude that had an electrical problem.
Right.
And qualified behind me. And it just happened to be in the same category as well. So I took off, qualified second last, but then I still have to ride 70 kilometers to get back to the bivouac and I'm missing a wheel. And I'm on a quad. So the thing's just like scraping on the ground.
You know what's even funnier? You need to go and watch the new Furiosa. Do you know how many points are relatable? There's a point too where they do that with a car, man. They just huck it up, and she's like,
I want to watch it so bad because like
it's
my
like your
mates
whole,
are in it.
It's like your whole trip, man. That's fucking crazy.
So yeah, I like got to the finish line, ended up tipping the bike up on its side, trying to tie it up a bit better. Wasn't working, so I was like, fuck it, I'm just literally going to skull drag this thing for 70 k's.
That's crazy.
Rode for probably 3 or 4 k's, and I found it like a car tire.
Yep.
That didn't have a rim in it or anything. So I lifted the bike up onto the side and mushed the A-arm into the car tyre so I could scrape on the car tyre instead of scraping on the quad.
Peace up.
Rode for maybe another 15 Ks like that. Worked me in. Every now and then I'd just have to flip the quad on the side, rotate the tyre a little bit so I could wear through another spot on the tyre because I was scrape. Like,
like,
I'm riding along and there's smoking up. It's not like, not a lot, but you can smell it. Eventually I got to a point and one of the mechanics, so the team owner's son, his name's Emiliano.
Yep.
Super good on the tools, really good, like really quick at spin and spanners, all that sort of stuff, really smart. So I just gave the bike to him. And the team does so much for you that you kind of feel like a bit special, if that makes sense. Like you kind of get babysat the whole time.
Yep.
And like I kind of said to him once, I'm like, you guys are doing too much. There's a lot of stuff that I can do myself. So you guys don't, I'm like, just don't worry about me.
Yep.
Anyway, like I get there, they have like all this snacks and food and bottles of water for me and all that sort of stuff. And he's just like spinning spanners on the bike straight away. Ended up getting the bike fixed. By fixed, I mean like I'm doing 110 on the freeway and my bars are like this. Like I can turn right super well, can't turn left at all pretty much. So it's like, I'm like, I want to go as quick as I can so I don't get a penalty for getting back late. So pretty much every minute that you're late, you get a minute penalty.
Yeah, right.
So I'm trying to minimize the damage that I've gotten. I've had a super shit prologue time. Your prologue time goes towards the actual overall result as well. So it's not like, all right, this is your starting order. We disregard your prologue time. Prologue time gets added to the total time.
Yep.
So trying to get back as quick as possible, ended up being like 52 minutes late. So I got a shit prologue time plus almost an hour of penalties. Plus my bike has a bent frame. I've ripped the front of it off. I've destroyed this team's bike the first time I've competed on it, basically. And then they were just like, we'll fix it, all that sort of stuff. And I was like, okay, I know you have a lot of bike to fix, but my front brakes are shit. Like, we need to fix them.
Right, yeah. Well, that was the initial problem.
Yeah. So like, I'm not going to blame it completely on the brakes. Like I was going too fast going into that thing because I just didn't know there was a corner there. Like it was that foggy. I just didn't see it. And it was a fast downhill into like literally a U-turn.
Yep.
But I'm sure if my brakes worked, I could have managed the damage.
Saved it a bit.
Yeah. Like probably may have not completely destroyed the bike.
Yeah,
like I'm sure I maybe would have rolled it and bent something, but not ripping a whole front wheel off it because I've sent it off a cliff into boulders.
Yeah, fuck.
Then the next day, like they fixed the bike and they were like, oh, we can't figure out what's wrong with the brakes because we can ride it and the brakes work. And I'm like, well, the brakes are cold. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you need to go 120 kilometers an hour into a sharp corner and get the brakes really hot. And I can guarantee they'll fade.
Yep.
And how the brake line was run, it kind of went like up a little bit. And I reckon there was an air bubble there that wasn't helping.
Right.
So the first day started really, really far at the back. And I'll go fast with how I went throughout all the days. Started at the back, passed a heap of quads, had a few sketchy moments because my front brakes were fading again. There were some times where I was coming up to a real sharp corner, pulling it in, nothing. and like I'm almost going off cliffs and stuff like that. So I got back to the bivouac that night. I think I got 6th in that stage.
Nice.
Which wasn't too bad, like considering that I had no front brakes for
At
pretty
the
much
end, at
most
the
of
back.
it.
Yeah.
And passing a lot of people, a lot of dust, a lot
Yep.
of getting held up because it's some tighter sections where you can't really pass unless you block past someone, and you're not going to block past someone
on
in the
that
rally.
shit. Yep.
It's just rude to do that sort of shit anyway. Like sometimes if you're catching up to some people, you've got to kind of let them know that you're there.
Yep.
Then they'll get out of your way because in Australia, we have a push to pass. You don't have to listen to it, but like you can push a button and it will flash the rider's screen in front of you to say, this competitor wants to pass you.
Really?
And it's up to them if they let you pass or not. They don't get a penalty if they don't. But over there, there's no push to pass button. They only have it in the cars for passing the motorbikes.
Okay.
So, first day, got 6, struggled with front brakes. Other than that, the bike was awesome.
Yep.
Second day, like I chatted with one of the mechanics and I said, look, there's an air bubble. Can we tip the bike on the side and then rebleed the brakes? Bleed the brakes. So we bleed the brakes.
Yeah. I knew what you meant.
Yeah. So he flipped the bike up on its side, bled the brakes like that. So that way the high spot was the master cylinder.
Correct.
So they bleed their brakes up.
Yep.
So they fixed that. Then day 2, we were at super high elevation, pretty much riding almost in the snow with the Pumas.
Yep.
Oh, with the Pumas, not the mountain lions.
Yep. Hectic.
And it was that cold that we looked at the data after the stage because my bike started to cold seize. My motor was at like 50 degrees or something like that, where a motor should be, your coolant temps should be closer to 100.
Fuck yeah.
But this bike was running that cold because like I'm sitting there tucking behind my nav tower, freezing my balls off doing 130 k's an hour, just on like gravel roads and stuff like that.
Absolutely freezing.
So the motor ended up cold seizing. So I like limped across the finish line. Like it was making the loudest ticking noise that like literally a ticking time bomb. I'm waiting for this thing to just grenade itself.
No way.
So I got towed back to the bivouac by one of the VL brothers.
Yep.
Because that was the stage that he ran out of fuel. So a competitor stopped, gave him fuel. I thought he blew up his motor because I rode past and he was doing that. So I'm like, if he needed fuel, he'd be pointing at his tank and I would have given him fuel. I would have given him all my fuel so he could tow me.
Yeah.
So that way I guarantee I get to the finish line.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I got to the finish line, like literally crawling across it. Pretty much rolled down this. It's like riding to the top of Mount Buller or whatever. So I literally had my bike off most of the way down this hill so I didn't grenade it so I could try and get back to the bivouac. The team will usually meet you within 10 Ks of the finish line every stage anyway.
Yep.
So I met the team and he said, all right, get your tow rope out. The other rider's going to tow you back. So they gave us fuel, some snacks, some waters, all that sort of stuff. He towed me back. We did an engine swap, which means I get a 15-minute penalty. So now I'm at over an hour of penalties.
Fuck.
But the good thing is I didn't get a penalty once that was actually a mistake, if that makes sense. So if you miss a waypoint, you speed in a speed zone or whatever, you get penalties.
Yep.
The whole rally, I didn't get a single penalty that was like my actual fault.
Yeah, okay.
So like the cold seizing the motor, nobody's fault.
Yep.
The brakes not working properly, nobody's fault.
Yep.
Stage 3 was the first stage where there was like proper navigation, following cap headings, hopping into dry riverbeds, going across salt flats where the salt flats, your tyres don't leave any marks on the ground. So usually at other spots you can follow people's tracks to like confirm what you're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're wrong.
Yeah.
So you can, we jumped in. So stage 3 was my favorite stage. Heavy on navigation, all that sort of stuff. So we jumped into this dry riverbed. I started so that stage that I cold seized my motor, I got 6 in that stage again. So I've gotten 2 6s and I'm way back.
Yep.
Stage 3, we're following all these dry riverbeds and stuff like that. The refueling was at kilometre 180 or something like that. So following this river for ages, at 120 or something like that, you had to get out of the riverbed. But this riverbed's 500 metres wide or something like that. Whoa. And we have, the track to get out is no wider than somebody's driveway. And you've got to find this thing and make sure it's correct. But if you're riding on one side of the riverbed and not the other, what could happen is when you come out of the riverbed, because you had to ride all the way across it, your trip meter's 500 metres out. So heaps of people firstly went straight. So most of the people in my category kept going straight.
Oh,
They just went for too long in the riverbed for like 5Ks, but then they've got to come 5Ks all the way back and then find that narrow-ass driveway.
exit, if you will.
But then what I struggled with, and I just went off like, all right, well, if they're saying the exit's at this kilometre mark and my trip meter's now 400 metres out or whatever, you got to do math at the snap
Quick
of it.
math.
Yeah, quick math. Yeah, 9 plus 10, man, 21. Quick maths. So I come out of this dry riverbed, my trip meter's 400 metres out. So I quickly scroll it back, and then the next instruction, if the next instruction is within 200 metres, they highlight it in blue. So I've come out and I'm like, all right, well, this is going to be straight away. And there's 2 competitors sitting out of their thing, literally at the start of the next trail that we have to follow. And I'm like, why are you guys sitting there? Like, I didn't say that. I was just thinking to myself.
Yep.
And they were lost because they were 400 metres out because they were on the wrong side of the river.
Hectic.
There's no right or wrong side of the river. It's just as long as you're in the river, you're going the right way.
Yep.
But they're trying to figure out what to do because their trip meters are 400 metres out and they think they've gone too far. So I've passed another 2 competitors and I've started following this trail for ages, and then it goes into like these shaley, rocky areas and stuff like that where there's no actual track to follow. It just goes off cap headings again.
Yep.
And then there's average cap headings as well. So if you go into a riverbed and it winds and it says average 170, you could be anywhere between 130 and 190. Just weaving in and out of these riverbeds. As long as you're going average in the right direction, you're good.
Yep.
Then we get to the refuel after we're going through all these like sand dunes and like this stage, the terrain changed that much that I had no idea. Like, you don't know what country you're in at this point, man.
Yeah,
There's
right.
some spots you stop and you're like, man, I'm in Pinaroo where Thumb Pump was.
Yeah,
and it will
right.
look identical. The next time you'll stop and you'll be like, I'm riding through the Fink River.
Yeah, right.
And in another part, you'll stop and you'll be like, I'm on the support road next to the chase road next to the Fink track.
Yep, yep,
You know, it changes so much. I've come into the refuel after going through all this stuff that we're going through stuff at first gear because it's that rough and there's water ruts that are waist deep and stuff like that you've got to like jump through basically.
Yeah, right.
Basically again. And I've gotten to the refuel and I was like, I know one competitor should be right behind me because he was sitting just outside the river and I'm sure they would have followed me.
Yep.
But then like 6 quads rocked up. And I'm like, this doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, right.
Turns out I've passed them all because they've all gotten lost and stuff like that. And then I ended up pulling away from them when we looked at the sector. So they break it down into like 70 or 80 kilometre zones.
Yep.
And in all these other zones, because I thought I was so far behind that I was chasing, that I was actually pulling away from them after everybody got lost as well.
True.
So I've gotten to the fuel stop, and by the time I've filled up my bike and I'm putting my helmet back on to ride another 100 metres to get to the start line for the next spot, all the quads started rolling in. And I'm like, what the hell? And I spoke to them because we're on a lot of, like, 3 of them I'm on the same team as.
Yep.
Ashita was still pretty far behind because she made the same mistake as well. And I'm like, what did you just do? And they were like, oh, we rode in the river for way too long. And I was like, yeah, right. So I'm like, shit. This is a stage that I can actually do really well in. I'm so far behind. I don't care what my overall result is because it's not going to be a reflection of how I actually went or what I'm capable of doing.
Yep.
And I'm like, shit, I might actually have a really good stage here.
Yep.
So I ended up taking off, overshot one corner, like kind of went into the shrub, and I'm like, all right, maybe just back it down a little bit instead of just holding it 5th, 6th wedge the whole time.
Yep.
Then we will go into like fesh, which is like bull dust. And that shit has no base. Yep. And if you follow someone in there, you won't be able to see your own hands.
Yeah.
You've got to make your own lines to it and stuff like that. So we've gone in there and I'm like, right, well, I've got a clean run through this. I'm going to get through this fesh as quick as I possibly can. Pulled away from them there again, ended up doing a lot of other stuff. Then we went into, like you go into these dry riverbeds and if it's an average one, they split up all the time and you've got to pick the right. If you weren't following a road book and didn't know what you had to do, you've maybe got a 1 or 2% chance of popping out at the correct spot. Like that's how hard these dry riverbeds are to follow. So I've gone into one of them, popped out, and then you've got to do like this weird U-turn thing. And then those checkpoints that I was talking about, on the road book, it tells you where the checkpoints should be. Mm-hmm. And this was once you hop into the river. So I've gone, no, the checkpoint said it was before you hop into the river, so it'll beep and then you turn in. I've gone into this river and it didn't beep. So I'm like, I've stuffed up here. So I've gone backwards, gone back out, and I'm like, well, there's tyre tracks everywhere, but all the tyre tracks are just
All over the shop.
all over the shop. Like, everybody made the same mistake. And I'm like riding around doing full hard enduro on this quad, going like in these massive water ruts, trying to get over to the next river without backtracking all the way through it again. And, you know, I've ended up riding maybe 2 kilometers in first gear in all this hard shit. Like, I got stuck in one of these massive water ruts and had to like bonk me way out of this thing.
Fuck.
Ended up, I've gone, fuck it. Like, dude, this river has to be right. Like, every time I try again, I pop up in the same spot.
Yep.
I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to follow it. And I went into it. And then there's this one guy, Nano, one of the VL brothers.
Yep.
He's like coming into it from like another direction. And he's like doing this. And I'm like, do I have to go to where you were to tick off that waypoint so I don't get a penalty first?
True. Yeah.
And then I'm like, fuck it. If I spend more time looking for this waypoint, it's going to cost me more time than what the penalty will actually be.
Worth, yeah.
So I'm like, stuff it. I'm just going to follow it where we're meant to go, where all the tracks meet up again. And then I start riding along 100 meters later. Beep. And I'm like, you fuckers put the checkpoint in the wrong spot on the road book.
Right.
And then because they were like, well, the checkpoint was in 500 meters of where it should be, so it's not our fault. And I'm like, I didn't argue it anyway because everybody else made the same mistake.
Yeah,
everybody was in the same boat.
Everyone lost their bit there.
So I followed this river for ages. Like, because I was lost for so long, all the quad riders kind of caught back up to me again. So then I ended up pulling away from them a bit, maybe like a few minutes. And then by the end of the stage, we don't know what we've gotten unless, like, you're one of, like, the factory riders because your team will be there and be like, this is what you got, this is what sector and this.
Yep.
Like, F1 team sort of shit.
Yeah.
But for me, there's nobody there to meet me until we get to where the team is sitting there or whatever. And then we ride back. This time we're going to a different city. So the city's sort of leapfrog.
Yep.
So sometimes we ride out for the day, go back to the same city. Sometimes we ride out and then we go back to a different city.
Yep.
So we might race from Ballarat and then that night we're staying in Adelaide.
Yep.
Like that sort of distances as well.
Yep.
So I've crossed the finish line and they're just like, yeah, man, good job. The other riders come through and I'm like, oh, you know, you're all mates. So you're talking shit about like, oh, you know, stuffed up here, stuffed up there. And, it was fun riding with you. Ride all the way back. I think it was maybe like 100 Ks to that bivouac, which was San Juan, I think it was called.
Yep.
Which was that like a massive like circuit track.
Yep.
So imagine riding to like Phillip Island or Tailem Bend.
Okay.
Tailem Bend would be a good example because it's similar sort of terrain around there as well.
Yep.
So you'd go to Tailem Bend, which was like 80 Ks away or whatever, and the team is like going nuts, like cheering, clapping, all that sort of stuff. And I'm there, I'm like, what did I do? Like, I thought I got like 5th or 4th or something like that, maybe 3rd if I was lucky. And they're going like nuts, cheering, all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, what's wrong? Like, what happened? And they're like, not clapping the other riders. And they're like, dude, you got 2nd. And I'm like, I got 2nd? Like, dude, I was fucking riding in circles for like 10 minutes.
No way.
And they were like, yeah, man, and you were 10 minutes behind the leader. The leader didn't make the mistake. So if I didn't make that mistake either, maybe we would have been 2 or 3 minutes apart from each other.
Fuck.
So I'm like, I was so close to winning a stage in my first ever World Championship rally event.
Yeah.
And it was the first stage that I didn't have any problems with the bike. Anything that went wrong was 100% my fault.
Yep.
But we looked at the sectors and all that sort of stuff, and there were some sectors that I was pulling away from all the competition, and I was keeping up with the dude that was winning.
Right.
And that dude that was winning is like a 3 or 4 time world champion.
Yep.
So like the dude can ride. You put him on a motocross track and he's pretty average because I was chatting to the dude and he showed me some Instagram videos and stuff like that. But on rally, and the dude's a local as well.
Yep.
Just super, super quick.
Yep.
Bit of a weird unit, but fucking pretty quick.
We all are.
Yeah.
The dudes that are, you got to have a little bit of a twang to you.
Yeah. So, like I was stoked because like that was my main goal in the race was I just wanted to try and get a top 3 in a stage.
Fuck yeah.
So I've ticked it off. There was no pressure on me because it was just like wherever I sort of was and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
You know, and then like, yeah, it was awesome. And then I'm like, all right, sweet. Well, I found my groove. I've got a lot of momentum. Let's start really ticking off some stuff.
Yep.
Stage 4, the road book in the morning, they were like, there's 2 servos that you can stop at. They're both within 500 meters of each other, but we recommend you get fuel from here.
Yep.
So it was a YPF, which is like their BP, basically. Like they've got BPs and shells and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
They had a shell, which was really hard to like get into. You'd have to kind of cut traffic off to get into it. And then there was a YPF, and I saw that everybody was going to the YPF, so I was like, oh, I'll do the same.
Yep.
Probably 50% of the field got bad fuel.
Really?
Yeah. So, but we did the first half of the stage, got to the refueled, all that settlement and all that shit was still on the bottom of the tank.
Mm-hmm.
So I've taken off, and then I was coming into one of the sections where there was a speed zone where you know, it still counts towards your time, but you might have to slow down for 30 kilometres an hour for a kilometre because you're going through a small town.
Yep.
This is where all those pigs are and shit like that because they just don't lock up their animals.
Yep.
So, you know, some of the towns you go through, you can go through as fast as you want. Some of them you have to slow down to 30 k's an hour. So I was coming into it, and my bike started like going as I was going into the speed zone.
Yep.
And I was like, that's weird. Like,
Fully.
am I running out of fuel? So I flicked the fuel pump switch to start using the other tank again.
Yep.
Because, you know, you can change what tank you use, and it will change how your bike handles as well.
True.
Yeah. So I have a 22-litre main tank, a 9-litre, and a 10-litre or something like that. So I can't remember exactly what size the tanks were.
Shit.
But I like my weight central. So I'd use half of the main tank, all of the rear tank, and then the other half of the main tank. That's how I'd kind of go about it.
Yep.
Regardless if it was sand or hard pack or whatever. So I'm like, flick the pump across, started running all right again. And I'm like, sweet. So then I'm pinning it. We're going through all these mountains and windy trails. And imagine if you're driving up to Mount Borbor, but all the roads are gravel.
Yep.
That's what it's kind of like.
Yep.
And then it's starting to start going slower and slower and sputtering and stuttering and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, don't tell me I'm blowing up another motor.
Mm.
So as this is happening, one of the other competitors, one of the brothers, caught me, and I was in a speed zone, and it's super dusty driving on these windy trails and stuff like that. So I saw him, and I'm like, look, pretty sure my motor's blowing up. I didn't say this anything to him or anything like that. I told him afterwards why I waved him past, but I pretty much just stopped where you're allowed to start going fast again.
Yep.
And I've waved him past. And I'm like, my theory was I'm out of the overall standings anyway. I've got over an hour worth of penalties.
Yep.
I'm in like 10th in the overall results from all these penalties and whatever. He's in 3rd or 2nd or whatever. So I'm like, dude, you go. I'm just going to hold you up in this dust anyway because I can't go full throttle.
Yep.
It's cutting out.
Yep.
Meanwhile, this bike's getting slower and slower and slower to the point where I'm barely making it up these hills.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just like, if I'd rev it, it would just conk out and I could start it again, but it would struggle to start.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm getting to the finish line even if I cross it in first gear.
Yep.
Probably like 100 meters before the finish line, fully cuts out.
Really?
Yeah. And then I'm like, fuck, this finish line's uphill as well. And my bike weighs 200 and something kilos empty. And because I was going so slow, my main tank was like half full. So I've still got like 10 kilos of fuel in the bike.
Fuck.
So I'm like, and I've been racing for like 4.5, 5 hours. So I'm pushing this thing as hard as I can. And then like eventually I just crest it. And as I did that, like all the cars started overtaking me. So I'm getting like smashed with rocks, dusted out completely because all these cars don't give a shit. You're off to the side. It's free game.
Yep.
And we get a buzzer on our GPS that says there's a car coming anyway.
You'll get a little buzz, turn around.
Yeah, so you get like maybe a minute warning.
Fuck.
It goes off distance.
Okay.
But like they can do 160, 170 k an
Yeah,
hour.
so they're not fucking cruising.
Nah, but like, dude, it is so cool watching them go past.
Oh, it would be. Yeah.
Like these are prototype vehicles basically that made for doing Dakar and rally racing. Like these things are sick.
Hectic.
So then like, yeah, they go past. Eventually I push it up and then the bike started running again because we're going downhill so I could get a bit of momentum.
Yep.
And then this stage, I did like 30 Ks in 3rd, 2nd, 1st gear basically. Slowly going slower and slower. And I still got 4th. Because at the start of the stage, I'm like, dude, I can get 2nd.
So I want to get
second fair and square again or try and win a stage.
Sick.
So like I've done this massive push, then the bike starts cutting out, all that sort of stuff, and I'm like, it fucking sucks. Eventually get across the finish line. Bike could start it could idle along. So pretty much I'm just going down these hills trying to get into third so that idle would give me a heap of momentum to try and get over the next hill, eventually just fully cut out.
Yep.
I'm standing on the side of the road in the transport on the way back to the bivouac, and I'm just pushing my bike along so people would feel sorry for me, basically. Because, like, we had service at this time, like phone service. So I've messaged my family. They were all awake, and they were like, Jake sent me a message, and he goes, dude, start pushing your bike so they feel sorry for you and stop.
Yeah.
So I'm pushing my bike up until the point where the cars are about to pass me, and then I hold up a tow rope. First 3 cars, nothing. Yeah, and because technically we're still part of the actual race. So if I get towed by a spectator, I'm disqualified. Has to be a competitor that tows us back, even if it's out of the actual stage.
Really?
So eventually this car stopped, they jump out, and these dudes are like full Red Bull athletes. Like, they've got like Red Bull skins, like compression wear. They're just chilling with like earphones in and having snacks and shit like that because they can drive back without a helmet because they're in an enclosed car.
Right.
Where with me, I can't, like, I've got to be fully geared up.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're like, oh, what's the problem? And I said, I think my motor's blown. At this stage, I didn't realize it was the bad fuel. And they were just like, oh, is that the longest rope you've got? I'm like, yeah. And they go, all right, well, we've got a rope that's the same length. We'll tie them together and we'll tow you back. I've got 190 kilometers to go back to the bivouac. So I'm towed behind this thing for 190 kilometers. I've got no earbuds, no music, no nothing. I'm just getting wind noise. And
are they moving to? Are they still in the race?
Our speed limit's 110. So we're on the roads. Our speed limit at 110. So we're doing 110 overtaking.
You're just
trucks.
fucking holding on the back.
Yeah, just chilling, man.
Fuck, bro, that's scary.
Yeah, and then I think they were on their phones a little bit because they've got like a rear-facing camera, and they said if something's wrong, just wave your arm because like we can see you the whole time. And they wiped the camera so it was dust-free and all that sort of stuff. Pretty sure they're on the phone because do you know how like the shit on the side of the road is just like gravel? So they've like gone a little bit across and they've gone into the gravel and it's just peppered the fuck out of me. Like chipped all the front of my helmet, cracked the nav tower windscreen.
Oh, copped it.
Fucked all my goggles. And like we stopped at a town because one of the navvy needed to jump out and take a piss. So he jumped out and take a piss. The driver got out and he's like, dude, I'm so sorry. You guys are like, we were texting the team to let them know how we went and stuff like that and why we were stopped on the side of the road. And he goes, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck if that's what you got to do to get me all the way back. I'm like, peppered me and roost if that's what you got to do.
Yeah,
whatever it takes, man. Thankfully, that was the only time they went off the road. But like, I've got so many, like, when we're going through a town, I had my phone out and I was like filming the whole situation and stuff like that.
Sick.
And yeah, like I did 190 Ks being towed behind one of like the factory Red Bull Citroen cars, I think.
Right.
Because they're based off real cars.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
They're pro drive buggies that are built out of England and they just put like their shell, with their logo. Yeah. So like I ended up having some Tim Tams on my bag. So like at the bivouac. So I've gone to the truck.
Note to everyone, this kid loved the fucking
love
Tim Tams. Like you wouldn't believe. If
Yeah.
he doesn't have his Tim Tams, he's an
Tim
angry
Tams
little
man.
boy.
Yeah, everybody else needs like Red Bull or coffee. I'm just like, where's my Tim Tams?
And
man?
chalky milk.
Yeah, so like I grabbed a packet of Tim Tams and went over there and I was just like, look, I haven't got much. I'm like, you guys obviously don't need money. Like your job's full-time racing cars all over the world. So I'm like, I said to him, like, do you want like, I've got to give you something. And then I'm like, I've got these. And he's just like, are you from Australia? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, and they're Tim Tams? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, but we're splitting the packet. And he goes, stay here. We'll smash half a packet each and just go back. And I'm like,
no
done.
way.
So I just smashed half a packet of Tim
Fuck
Tams.
yeah, the Aussie with some Tim Tams will just fuck.
Weight and gold, man. So yeah, like, and then just went back to normal. And then, so that was the 4th stage. And then the 5th stage, it was 250 kilometers in the morning. We took off at about 5 a.m. because we had a massive amount of ground to cover to go back to the original city that we were in.
Yep.
Because that was like this city put in a lot of money for the race.
Right.
So yeah, we went back. I mean, like, yeah, we're on our way back, riding 250 kilometers to the start line. It was like 5 o'clock or something in the morning. Bike ran fine the whole time. Start the stage, 20 Ks in. No warning, no dying of the motor, just the biggest crack, just fully locked up. So I'm just like, I have 200 kilometers to go in this entire race.
And she's just done.
Just done.
And did it, like fucking threw a leg out?
No, it didn't. Like nothing
Just
went out of the
seized.
motor, just fully locked up. Like I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like I looked down, I'm like, did my chain just snap or something? Look down, nothing. Just pull the clutch in, coasted off to the side, and like we're so sleep deprived and shit like that.
Yeah.
I'm like the motor's done. I was in a dry river, like the road that we were on, because it was just gravel roads for the last stage, because it was like the spectators could really go and watch this stage.
Yep.
So it was very easy access and all that sort of stuff. But because I was at the very start of it, we're not near a city or anything like that. We're near like this tiny
Still
ass
out in the
town.
middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So I pretty much just walked into the riverbed, flattened out a bit, made a little sandcastle to rest my head on, and just crossed my arms and went to sleep.
Bullshit.
Just went to sleep. Dude, you're so tired. Like every morning you're up super early. You're up till super late. You're on the bike.
So like,
for
how
5
long
hours
did
a
you
day.
fall asleep for? Until like another bike
Until
rider
like
went past or something?
when the riders would go past, I'd just give them the thumbs up. They'd keep going because like there's a warning for a stationary bike, so they can see that I'm there. But I'm well off to the side of the track. I'm safe.
Yep.
I'm not injured. Just giving them the thumbs up. Just laying there with my arms crossed in the sand.
And what, you wait there till someone comes and picks you up?
Yeah. So the team can see where we are.
Yep.
But they can't communicate with us.
Right.
So they can see that I'm stuck, and they thought I had a fuel problem again. So eventually, this car went past, like a competitor's car,
Yep.
and just yeeted this packet out of the window. And I'm like, thank fuck, I've got some snacks. Like, I've got water, I've got snacks. And turns out it was a bottle of water and another fuel injector. And I'm like, this is going to do nothing. So I just drank the bottle of water. Like I already drunk. We have to carry 3 litres. I've already drunk all my 3 litres because like I'm sitting in the sun. There's no shade. So I've drunk my 3 litres. I'm like laying there with my rally jacket over my face, like just baking in the sun. This dude throws out a bottle of water and an injector. And I'm like, I'm still going to be stranded here.
Wow.
So eventually, like this, I've just gone back asleep. Like the thing will start beeping at you and that sat phone will start going off. And then like I just say it's mechanical. Like I can talk and they can hear me.
Yep.
And they go, Cooper, what's the problem? And I just say mechanical. And they go, all right, we'll send a recovery vehicle once all the competitors have gone. And because I've made up so much ground, I'm near the front of the field.
Yep.
That I'm fucking waiting for ages. Fell asleep. And then all of a sudden this dude like taps me on the shoulder. No English. We just lift the bike onto the back of the ute, jump in.
You were actually asleep when he rocked
asleep,
up. You
just
didn't even
fully
hear
asleep.
him pull up or
No.
anything.
No,
That's when
taps-
you know you're tired.
Yeah. Like I filmed a lot of the fast buggies that were going past because I'm like, I can show my family back home.
Yeah, you're here now. Might as well get some shots.
Get some action. Yeah. So yeah, like just went to sleep after all the cool buggies went past and stuff like that. This guy threw out the parts when all these quick buggies were going past and grabbed it, looked at it, realised I can't do anything with the parts they gave me because I need a motor.
Yeah.
And then eventually got woken up by these 2 Argentinian dudes, like these old dudes that just volunteer in the event, chucked the bike on the ute, and I was like, are we going? I'm like, I stood at the track. I said, are we going that way or that way? And he goes, we're going that way. And I'm like, thank fuck. I'm like, I'm not driving 200 kilometres through this stage of just windy roads and shit like that. I'm like, let's go back and go on the freeway all the way back.
Hectic, huh?
And then, I have no cell service either, so I can't even message the team to tell them that the motor's broken. Like, I got a text, but nothing will go out.
Right.
So they went back, I finally got service, and like 100 texts have come through from all the different mechanics on the team saying, what's wrong, what's happened, are you okay, blah, 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 blah. And then I found them at the start of the stage because they were just waiting there. So they'll send someone to the start of the stage and someone to the end of the stage, just for me.
Right.
So I went back to the start. Seb, one of the mechanics who spoke really good English, he goes to night school for it. Like, finished school, just really wants to learn English.
Yep.
So I told him how to say all the swear words and how to,
Get that
all the
slang.
funny shit.
Get the slang out,
Yeah.
bruv.
And I was like, funny thing, side note, I told him about Champ, and I didn't tell him that it was like, can be taken as an insult. So one of the Australians came over and he's just like, oi, Champ. And Toby's just like, did he just fucking champ me?
You fucking call me champ.
Yeah, and I was just like lost my shit laughing. Anyway, so I've got taken back to the start line. Team was there, and I'm like, dude, the motor's done. Like, this is our second. You want to share a microphone?
No, this fucking mic's doing me. But no. Yep, there we go. I'm definitely gonna have to fix this. Well, she's really winning at the moment. Yo. All right.
There we go.
So you blew up 2 engines.
I blew up 2 motors. Well,
Nice.
one didn't fully blow up, but it was like, change it.
Dunskies.
Yeah, pretty done. So I blew up 2 motors, ripped the front of this quad off, bent a frame. Like, I fucking wrote this quad off pretty much.
And it's not even yours yet.
Nah, dude, I rent the quad. And I'm like, at the end of it, like, I was like, considering that I wasn't happy with the brakes and you guys didn't do much about it, I'm like, if you guys try and make me pay for this, I'm not paying shit. But
My argument is brakes.
They were a really, really good team that they would just like, dude, shit happens. Like, it wasn't
they
your fault
understood it.
fully why you crashed.
This is racing.
Yeah, and like there was no warning. Like, we looked at the data with how you were riding the bike, and you're not doing anything to blow up the motors. It's just bad luck. And like these things are built like tanks.
Yeah, right.
Like, you can't blow up the Falcon.
Yeah.
This thing's the same. You can't blow up an XR250. This thing's the same.
Yep.
So like to blow up 2 in one race was just like unheard of.
Fucking yeah.
Yeah. So but like in the end, just had just crazy amount of bad luck. But
Yep. But still sort of did pretty well. Fuck, this mic's killing me.
I can ramble on for a bit if you want.
Yeah.
As how I look at it is, as bad as it went, it couldn't have gone any better.
Well, you're still walking. You're
Yeah,
still.
well, that also as well. Like, I'm super grateful that airbag worked wonders when I crashed
Yep.
and all that sort of stuff. But look at how many different situations I got put in or put myself in, and how much I learned from those experiences.
Yep.
So something like now going into, the good news is like I had a massive meeting with the team, and I might be doing the full World Championship next year.
Stick.
So Argentina, Abu Dhabi, Portugal, Morocco, like everything.
Cool.
But going into that next year, the amount of knowledge and experience that I have that would take a lot of people a lot of rallies to gain and stuff like that. The only experience I don't have in rallies is success, basically, like how to handle the pressure of being up the front. But that's something that's one thing to learn. Not what to do if you break this part, how to MacGyver your bike back together if you break that. You know, how to use resources as a fucking random tire on the side of the road to get back to your mechanics and stuff like that.
You
So
need those. And I think, if you go in, fuck this mic, I'm going to get fucking angry soon. You're going to see a shit side of me. Swing it. I don't even know what's going on here. I'm just going to pull it out. All right. Hopefully that fucking keeps
the old
working.
turn it off and on trick.
Yeah. I don't even know what I was going to say because I got angry. It's still doing it. What the fuck is going on here with this fucking mic?
Do you want to swap to that one, maybe?
Maybe. Hold on. We're just going to do some mic swaps. Hold on.
Can I quickly go to the toilet really quick while you're doing that? Is there a pause button on this? No, but just go. No. All right, I'm going to be so quick. How do I get outside? I don't know where the toilet inside is. What direction?
That way. We might even do a little pause. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is mid. All right. I've stolen Big Schmiedo's mic. That's better. Coops has done the bootskis, so it's just me. I've fucking knocked my camera up. We are on a failure right here. What are we into? We're a fucking hour and a half into it, aren't we? We're into it. Drop some smoke on us, brother. Where you been? All right, so on another note, while I'm here just talking a bit of shit, what we need, obviously, Big Schmiedo isn't here today. I want everyone to fucking jump in the comments and be like, Big Schmiedo, we missed ya. Fucking get around it. Fucking, because I do honestly feel like Schmiedo's got a lot more knowledge in what fucking Coops is talking about here. He's got the whole like bike knowledge. I'm just a bit of a goon, but at the end of the day, it's still been fucking good yarns and it's all happening. But hopefully this kid doesn't take too long to piss. Where is he? The old first piss break in a podcast, eh? Fuck, here he is. He's back.
You know what Van Vliet's like a store blood, isn't
He loves it. All right, so I just did sort of notice too, we're fucking kicking on for an hour and a half here. So we'll fucking sort of try and wrap it up. But long story short, it was sort of like you said, it was a bit of like a successful, unsuccessful mission.
As bad as it went, it couldn't have gone.
Couldn't have gone any better.
Yeah, and like it's a sick country as well.
Yeah.
I'll ramble on. Can I have like 15 more minutes?
Yeah, go. Yeah.
The country itself is sick.
Yeah.
Like when you're walking around the streets and stuff like that. So where I was staying, the team is based in Buenos Aires.
Yep.
Which is like, I think they have the same argument with what's the capital of the country as well. So how we have like, is it Canberra? Is it Sydney? Is it fucking Melbourne or Brisbane?
Yep.
Yeah, so they're the same. So I was in the actual capital, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And the team was staying like 2.5 kilometers away. So every morning I was just walking there because I didn't know how Ubers worked over there.
Yep.
I figured out eventually that you can pay Ubers in cash as well.
True. Yep.
Walking around is like a first, second, and third world country in one.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like people are driving around in like clapped out old F trucks and stuff like that. And then you'll see this next dude and he's driving around in one that he's probably been driving for 20 or 30 years, but the thing's like mint condition.
Right.
And then you'll walk down an alleyway and it's dirt. And then you'll walk down another alleyway and it's like nice houses and stuff like that. So it's just like everything and anything in every alleyway. But then the part that you would froth, here you look at graffiti and stuff like that and it's just, it's not even legible. You can't even read it. It's just some little grom of a kid just scribbling
slapping up fucking tag. Yeah, fully.
Yeah, or, just
Scribbles.
Yep. Over there, you'll walk down an alleyway and there's just like Simpsons characters. Like I saw one that was like Ninja Turtles and shit like that.
So a lot more like real
creative
pieces.
Shit. Yeah. So instead of putting up a sign saying keep out private property, they'll have a Simpsons character there. Like who's that old dude with the cane that walks in the Simpsons? Something like that.
Something? Yeah.
There was a picture of him saying like a speech bubble and you could kind of tell that it was saying keep out.
Yeah.
Obviously it's in Spanish.
Yep.
But yeah, so like they're just super creative with all their stuff. And then one thing, I don't understand how Australian roads are so shit because you go over there and everything is like perfectly flat.
Yeah.
Like no potholes, nothing.
I think I not to fucking Aussies are just, it's because the fucking every cunt fucking on the construction site sitting there talking shit and not actually working. But I think if we're being the nitty gritty of it, Australia gets hot, man.
True.
Shit warps.
No, but it's the
goes
same.
like
It's
real,
the same over there, man.
Yeah.
They're literally on the same level. Like if you spun a globe,
Yeah.
Earth is round.
Yeah.
Is it?
Anyway, do we have another
I had
6
a funny
hours?
argument of that. So like Melbourne, or like kind of Sydney, and where I was, the same height. And I was talking to them about the summer sort of climate and all that sort of stuff, and they were saying it's the exact same.
Yeah, right.
Like how I was saying Australia's like, they were saying that it's the exact same there. And then the only thing that they complained about a lot was the humidity. And I was like, I don't really find it very humid.
Yeah, unless you go up the top. We don't get humid down here because I think we get that fucking, we've got that Antarctic breeze.
Arctic wind. Yeah. Well, there was only one day after the race that we went testing and they kind of had like a real hot day.
Yep.
And dude, I was putting on my gear and sweating. Really? Like it just got that one day that was just super, super humid. And they were like, I was kind of struggling in it when I was riding.
Yep.
But like the mechanics just walk everywhere.
Yeah,
so like they were sweating heaps as well.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, like it's a sick country. And then I caught an Uber from where the apartment that I was staying in to go out for dinner. That was like 25 minutes away.
Yep.
It cost me $4 Australian.
Fuck.
Yeah. And I'm like, why the fuck have I been walking everywhere?
Yeah.
I finally figured out Uber can pay in cash. And I'm like, dude, I would have, and then the last day I called an Uber to the team with like my gear bags and stuff because they were going to take me to the airport and we were having that like final last meeting with the team.
Yep.
To talk about all the stuff in the future.
Yep.
And it cost me $1.70.
What?
Yeah. Oh, actually. I don't have your wallet. It's in the car. Their biggest note is equivalent to $10. And then the most common note you can get is 1,000 pesos or 2,000 pesos, which is $1 or $2. So you go into a food shop and you're just whipping out fat stacks of cash and it's like $26.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So like if you had 1,000 peso notes,
yep,
like $1 notes basically, and your food shopping was equivalent to like $26, you have to give them 26 notes.
Really? And there's no other like...
No. I paid a lot of stuff in US currency.
Yeah.
So like my wallet's still full of pesos and US bills and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, like if you're paying for expensive stuff, so like you're buying a car, you do it in US dollars. If you're buying a house, you do it in US.
Yeah. It's sort of like that over there. Yeah.
Food shopping, going out for dinner. The other thing too, going out for dinner, like I got a massive steak and it was like $12. And it was like a mint steak.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We're so ripped off over here.
Oh, dude, dude, I went out for breakfast this morning with Tegan.
It probably cost you
And-
80 something bucks.
Dude, I got a milkshake. Like as soon as I sat down, Tegan got some weird soy chai latte thing that she had to pour through a strainer, and I'm like, that's gonna be expensive. I'm like, if you're having to make your own fucking drink, it's expensive. And I just got like a normal milkshake, and no shit, I could pour the whole thing into that Mai Tai mug.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It wasn't even a big one.
And it was like, I think it cost us like $23. And as like, we ended up not getting food from there because like scrambled eggs with bacon was going to cost me like $32. And I'm like, we're next to a Woolworths. Like this place can't be that posh. And I'm like, dude, it fucking sucks. But over there, like you can, empanadas, which are like little pastry meat pie things.
Yeah.
You could buy like, every morning I was buying like heaps of them and just taking them to the team to like, just
be a good cunt.
yeah, just be like, just buy snacks for the team or whatever. And it was like $10 for like 20 of them.
True.
Yeah. Like it's so different. But then so I became pretty good mates with Seb because we were just I was bullying the shit out of him and he was bullying the shit out of me.
Yep.
Kind of like a little brother sort of thing because he's only 21. And I was talking to him and I'm like, oh, well, everything's so cheap over here. Like how much do you get paid? And it worked out that he gets like $500 a month and works a full-time job.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like the dollar over there is so
shit.
shit.
Yeah, they're not making much, but if you come over from another, it's
dude, like I got
Interesting.
a full apartment, fully furnished apartment with everything in it, all that sort of stuff, and it cost me like 300 Australian for an entire week. And like this was on the beach.
Really?
Yeah, on the beach, heaps of restaurants and supermarkets around it and all that sort of
Fucking
stuff.
Argentina, let's go.
Yeah, dude,
Fucking-
it's mint. I'm going back there in February, man.
Yeah, all right, well, do you need a filmer?
Yeah, dude, 100%.
All right, we'll get that fucking
it
team to
over.
pay me, cunt.
I don't know, man. Maybe.
I might be able to, we can work in a budget somehow or something
Yeah.
like that. We'll see.
So next year I'm going Argentina in February for a beach race,
Yep.
which is just like a 45-minute race and that's it. But we're going there 2 weeks before to just test and ride the track.
Sick.
And then that we ride twice a day, every day before the race.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like just full rock star life basically. Mechanics do everything for you. They fill up your bikes,
Yep.
service them. You want to move your levers, they'll move them for you. Like
Real? That would
yeah.
just wig you a bit?
It does a little, like, they were really good mechanics. I usually don't like other people touching my bikes, but
Yeah.
they were really, really good.
Yep.
But they would do it, they just do too much shit for you.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's where I
you
got
almost
along with
feel
them.
useless.
You do.
Yeah, you're like, fuck, I could do
I
that.
told them to sort of pull it back a bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys don't need to do so much shit.
Yeah.
Like, they were borderline, like, dressing me in the morning.
Oh, true.
Yeah, like they just go so above and beyond. They're like, you're here to be a part of our team.
Wow.
You are a part of the team.
Yep.
Like borderline family, basically. Yeah.
Fuck, that's good as.
Yeah. So like, if anybody's ever wanting to go race in Argentina or any rounds of the World Championship, bike or quad or side by side as well, just hit up Mech Team. Like I couldn't have picked a better team to ride with.
Fuck, that's always good.
And then from there, I'm pretty sure we're going straight to Abu Dhabi.
Yep.
For the World Rally Championship, so the same as what I just raced in Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, I come back to Australia for a bit, then go to Portugal
Fuck.
to race another round of it.
Yep.
Come back for a bit, and then back to Argentina. And then I'm going to try and tee it up that I can race some of their their Enduro Championship while I'm there on the bike,
Yep.
because their bike side of the team is factory beta.
True.
Yeah, so they've got like just endless bikes.
Sick.
Yeah.
So you're pushing for it hard, huh?
Yeah, well,
After
that
this-
was the whole. That was the trip. Was like,
To see if it's worth it, sort of.
if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't,
It's not
I'm,
for you.
I'm pulling the pin and just not
Yep.
kind of doing any big races ever again. Like, kind of gonna grow up and become a mature adult. And
Fuck that.
Yeah, dude. I'm obviously not meant to grow up.
Sick, dude.
Yeah,
That's
so I'm just
good.
like, obviously it's a sign that I'm just meant to like
Yeah.
keep living with mum and going to all these different countries and
Well, I
racing
mean,
bikes.
I don't, I've,
like Teagues is ready to grow up and buy a house because
I
she's
should
like
be hanging for you to
2
just
years
fucking,
older than me.
just
But
fucking
she
stop
gets
riding
it.
and yeah,
Because she's obviously an Olympic weightlifter and so
Yeah.
invested in her sport that
yep,
I said to her, like, if I make it doing this race, I'm going to keep giving it everything and
Yep.
working my ass off, training my ass off to get to these races.
Yep.
But if it doesn't work and I don't get any support from a team, I'm calling it.
Yep.
And she was kind of okay with that. But now it's like, I've got support from a team.
Yeah.
So I still need to find a lot of sponsorship.
Yep.
So like I've still got to pay for my flights, my entry fees. Every entry fee is like between 6 and 10 grand per event. I've still got to pay for my licenses and insurances. I've still got to have my racing here to some extent as well.
Yep.
So like I missed out on Fink this year because I was overseas.
Yeah.
But if Fink lines up well next year, I'll probably still race that.
Do you think? Yeah.
And do Thumb Pump.
Yep.
Considering that, you know, us as a family run that event. Like, of course, if I'm in the country, I'm going to be racing that.
Yep.
Even if I have to walk it, I have to race it on foot.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
I'll be racing that regardless. But, like when it comes to nationals and stuff like that, I'm just not going to
Take that step back and
take that
focus on
step
these
back.
big ones.
Yeah.
Yep. Fuck, that's sick, man.
Yeah. So it worked.
Yeah. It's
So
good.
me worrying on that plane over there.
Yeah, you
going,
gotta,
"Fuck,
have,
was
you
it?"
gotta have a little bit of a butt clench at the start. And
Yeah,
go, what am
dude.
I doing?
And it was like when I first got there, same happens in every country that I've been to. Like you'll meet the team that you're riding for or whatever. And if they don't speak English, like none of the mechanics will talk to you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'll say like, oh, hey, how are you? And
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. And they'll just be like,
Yeah.
and
Awkward.
then like 2 days in, I'm like, every one of you motherfuckers speak English.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
cheeky.
Oh, most of them.
Yeah.
Like Seb spoke really good English. Emmy spoke really good English. There was another mechanic that spoke pretty. We could talk to each other, but he would talk Spanish to someone and get them to translate.
Yeah.
And then there was 2 mechanics that were just like, no comprende.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like the team owner, no English at all, and his wife, nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
So to talk to him, you'd need someone translating in the middle.
Yeah. So there was a guy named Tato, or Tato.
Yep.
Turns out that wasn't even his real name.
Yep.
He just doesn't like his real name, so everybody calls him Tato. I think it's his middle name he used or something. But he was who I was liaising with before the race.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we knew each other pretty well.
Yep.
But like, yeah, anytime I was talking to the team owner, everything would go through Tato.
Yep.
Or Emmy, his son.
Sick.
Yeah. So when we were having that meeting, it was like I would tell Tato.
Yep.
Tato would tell
Yep.
Adriano.
Yep.
Adriano would tell Tato. Tato would tell me.
Yeah. Fuck, what a headache.
Yeah. So like something that could have been handled in like our meeting went for like 2 hours, but it was like super, super productive.
Yeah.
Like there's so much cool shit in the works with this team.
Yep.
Both inside and outside of that world championship. But like, yeah, just the meetings are a little bit slow, but the meetings are funny as fuck.
Yeah, because there'd be that
Yeah.
misunderstanding that would end
Yeah,
up being like,
because,
that's
like,
so funny.
By the end of it, I can kind of understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
And like, if
Yeah.
I said an idea to him, if he was replying back to Tato in like a positive way, I'd be like, you like that idea?
Yeah, you can vibe off
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So most of the stuff was fine, and then like every time I go to a different country, I try and swap a jersey with one of the riders, and then I'll have another jersey that I give to the team.
Yep.
As just like a thank you, like it's just a common thing in motocross or motorsport or whatever.
The old jersey exchange.
And like, dude, the jerseys that he had on the wall were just like, I'm like, he has that dude, like cool jerseys.
Interesting.
Yeah, like factory, because they used to be factory HRC back in the day with Honda.
Oh,
they
right.
were the factory HRC team.
Right.
So with the Benavides brothers and all that sort of stuff, like who are now factory KTM and Husqvarna,
Yep.
like top level, like winning Dakar sort of shit. And they have those jerseys up on the walls, all this other stuff. And like Marvin's the only one that was from Australia.
Fuck yeah.
And I wrote muchas gracias, Culiao, which is like, thank you very much, motherfucker, like, on the jersey. And like, I got it out from like my hoodie pocket because that way I could like surprise him with it. And he's like reading it, and like I've obviously spelt it wrong because he's like, cool. Oh, Culiao. And I'm like, he's just lost his shit laughing. And he's like, started speaking, and Tato goes, now he has to hang it up in his office because he can't put it in the showroom because it says motherfucker on it. I don't know if it actually means motherfucker, but it's like
just the interpret.
this city that the race started in, it's like slang for that area.
Right.
So if you say it in another city, they'll take offense to it. But if you say it in that city, depending on how you say
Language
it.
was weird
It's like the
like
C
that.
word, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you say the C word in America, they're like, what the fuck did you just call me?
Yeah.
Or if you say it in Australia, it could be your best mate.
Yeah.
But
It's all about tone in Australia.
Yeah.
I can be like, fuck yeah, cunt. But if I go, oi, cunt.
yeah, I'll be like, oh, Seamus is angry.
Why are you angry at me? Why'd you call me a cunt for? But I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, cunt. It's that
Yeah.
slight tone in
Oh,
it, man.
and another thing too, do you know my alter ego, European Cooper?
Yeah, did he come out?
He came out.
Did you get a little bit wild?
Yeah, the after party, man.
Oh, look
Because
at
they have, like over here, you go to an after party and it's just like everyone. The reason why I don't drink in Australia is because, like, firstly, my brothers will say shit every time I have a beer.
Yeah.
But over there, it's like everybody's actually a good dude. I didn't see a single punch on.
Yep.
Nobody angry at each other. Like, there was annoying people. Like,
Oh,
you
you're always
annoying
going to get your
people all the
annoying
time.
piss heads, yeah.
And whatnot. But like, they mix. I drink vodka and orange juice at an after party.
Yeah.
They mix them things 50-50.
True.
I had two of them, not realizing how strong they were, and I was
Would
just
have been tanked,
boogieing.
bro.
Man. But then, like, you'll turn around one way, and there's like just all the factory riders are there too.
Yeah,
and
right.
like a few of them are just on the waters because they've got to go back to America and do a
Do
race
another
straight
race.
away.
Yeah,
But a
fuck.
few of them were like, yeah, this is the last race for a month and a half, so we're gonna have a bit of a party.
Getting on it, yeah.
And like they're just normal dudes.
Yep.
Like, I became like pretty good friends with like Skylar Howes, which is a factory HRC rider from the States. Like, dude has a mustache from the fucking cowboy movies.
True.
Runs a cowboy hat everywhere, and he's
Sick.
just like, people coming up to him and being like, oh, how do I get sponsored by Monster? Like, oh, you must have it so easy now. And I'm just like just asked him normal questions. Like,
Yeah.
how did you get into rally?
Yeah, it's the less is
And
more.
shit like that. And
Yep.
and he's like, we're having a conversation for maybe half an hour, and probably like 15 people came up to him just asking him how to get sponsored by Monster Energy. And I was just like, I'm like, oh, got a question for you. And I just had the
Just
biggest
nerding
smirk on my
out.
face. And I'm like, this Monster Energy thing, man, is it hard? And he's just like pissed himself laughing. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to ask you that. Like,
Yeah, fucking hell.
like, it's a sponsor, man.
Yeah.
Like, of course, if it's a sponsor of that level, it's going to be hard work and stuff
Yeah,
like
and
that.
it's not even
And
that.
like,
it's like you need to be someone to,
Yeah.
to get you. It's
It's
not the
like-
word. It's like you need to be good.
Yeah.
To be the best, and they'll sponsor
no
you.
shit. Like, they're just fucking normal people. Yeah, so it was fun hanging out with all them, and then like we hopped in a taxi, went to another party, and then that was where I met the team owner of Bus KTM that I mentioned at the start.
Yep.
And because they're a Dutch team and I can speak Dutch, we were
Oh,
just
yeah, you're
talking Dutch to each other flat out.
Yep.
And then Toby Hendricks, that was in the passenger seat, he's like, am I drunk and tired, or are you guys speaking another language? And I'm like, nah, man, you're just really tired.
That's fucking
Yeah.
sick.
All right, I'll stop rambling.
No, that's
Like,
good, man.
yeah.
I think that you fucking sound like wild times.
It's fucking sick. Like,
Yeah.
I'm learning Spanish for when I go back.
Yep.
Like, once I figure out exactly what's involved with next year and how much the entry fees are, and I'm starting to lock in sponsors,
Yep.
I'll start taking some Spanish lessons. Also,
Yeah,
I tried to vlog over there as well.
Yep.
Dude, there is no time in the day to vlog during those
Oh, well,
races.
this sounds like it. Isn't it?
Yeah.
You need a cameraman.
Yeah.
You need You need
Yeah.
someone documenting your trip.
100%.
You can't.
Well, I've
do
got
that
an
yourself.
idea that I kind of sounds like a bit of a wank, but like a mini documentary sort of thing,
Yeah.
following
Yeah.
through the whole year.
It's always going to sound like a wank because it's your thing. But
Yeah.
like anyone would turn around and go, "Well, I'd watch that."
Yeah, well, that's like I
I'd
watched
watch
a
that.
movie.
I want to watch a movie of what you just explained for the last fucking hour and a half.
Yeah,
I want to
so
watch that.
SLR Honda in America, they race like the Baja Score the Baja and Score Championship in the States.
Yep.
And they brought out like a 30-minute documentary about Baja 1000 and how like one of their riders had a massive crash and they had to basically medivac them out of there by themselves because they were getting no medical support from the event and stuff like that. And it was such a sick short film that I kind of want to do like a 45-minute series, a 45-minute movie
Yep.
of just what happens. with
Or
my racing
Netflix,
next
if
year.
you're watching, talk to us. We're going to bring you a fucking documentary.
Yeah, no shit.
Or just the right spot. Fuck, just the right sponsors. So
Yeah.
On
But
that
yeah,
note,
like if I can find enough sponsors, I'll definitely
Yeah.
have a budget there to try and pay someone to come across and
fuck yeah.
all that sort of stuff. But like, yeah, even with the support that I'm going to get from the team, it's still going to cost me like 150, 200 grand to go do this championship. Like just this one race cost me 40 grand.
Wow.
But I was paying for everything. Like
Yeah.
I paid for the bike, I paid for the accommodation, paid for the mechanics, paid for
Yeah.
we were staying in hotels every night. Like I probably could have done it a bit cheaper, but I was just tick the box, go
Yep.
balls to the wall for this race. But yeah, like
Fucking
next
good
year,
shit.
like I've got a few sponsors that are pretty interested, but
Yep.
they just want to see the budget.
Yep.
But yeah, like every sort of little bit helps. Like next year, I'm going to do a bunch of merch to see if that sort of helps and
Yep.
all that sort of stuff. But yeah, like it's so costy. There's a massive audience though.
Yeah.
Like there's people from all over the world follow this championship, and like heaps of Australians follow it. Like
Yep.
I was on the plane over there, and one dude was like, "Oh, you have a helmet? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to go race in Argentina." And he goes, "Oh, the Ruta 40." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, do you know Chucky?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, he lives like 20 minutes away from me." And he's like, "Dude, what category are you racing?" Like, I
He was,
follow
like,
the
full
race.
into it.
Like,
Yeah, right.
you know, what category are you in? And like, where are you standing in the championship? I'm like, "That's my first time." Yeah, like it's like massive following. Like
Yeah,
just
sick.
the social media that the promoters have for it have like over 1 million followers across the board and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So like,
And it's probably, is it televised?
it is televised. It'll be on
Certain.
I think it's SBS, and it comes out
Yeah.
like they do like an hour and a half episode.
Yep.
And I think it comes out like mid next week or something like that.
Sick.
So I'll share it once it's up on
Yeah.
Instagram. And then like the followers you get on Instagram going to these races, man. Like
Yeah.
I was getting like 50 to 60 Instagram followers a day
Wow.
without even like before I even posted shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking there you go. Well, on that note, if you want to check out his Instagram, what is it? Fucking Cooper Van Vliet.
Cooper Van Vliet 43.
There you go.
Yeah.
Fucking check it out. If you want to sponsor him, hit him up. Sponsor him.
I'll send you through me
Let's
proposal.
do it for Australia.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I did have an Aussie flag on my helmet, but it wasn't massive. It was
Next,
just the
we'll,
side. It
we'll
was
go.
coming
We'll
up
go
a
big
scratch.
one on the next one. We're gonna
Yeah.
do it for Australia.
Yeah. Well, next year, like, yeah, if I get the sponsors, like, for certain fees, you can get custom painted helmets that I wear at certain races, and
Sick.
I'll give you the helmet at the end of the championship and stuff like that as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you can claim it on tax.
Watch me sponsor your
Fuck the
helmet.
government.
Cunt. Big fucking MDB with cunt
Did you
on
see
the back.
the MGP on the bike?
I think I did. Yeah, I would.
it was on the fuel tank next to. I had on one side I had an Australian flag, and the other side I
there's-
had an Argentina flag.
Fuck yeah,
And there was an
that's sick.
MGP slapped on it, and on the rear guards as well.
Yeah, but on that note too, this actual coffin design was designed by this fucking
Yeah,
sick
dude.
little cunt right here.
When I
just a
was
little bit of-
18, when I
yeah.
was bored as shit in Europe in between days that we weren't riding.
Yeah, it went from like, hey man, I think I've done this little design for you to like 2 months of like, hey bro, can you change this? Can you change this? Can
Yeah.
you change this?
And
Can you
then
make it
I'd-
like this? Can you do that? Can you do that?
And then I'd send you stuff
Perfect.
back, and I'd be like, "Hey man, I listened to what you said, but I think we should do this." And you were like, "Yeah, it's fucking sick."
Fuck yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It's a classic design, the old
Yeah, it's stuck around.
coffin design. But all right, bruv, we're fucking almost 2 hours into this bad girl.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. I need a ciggy.
Hopefully
Probably
I
a
was-
drink.
Hopefully, I was interested.
Nah,
in
it
that.
was good. That's a good yarn. I think obviously for
It's-
the
it's
people that
so-
are
it's
involved
so
into that
much,
shit,
yeah.
like bike cunts, a little bit, all those sorts of like dudes, I don't think, for a lot of people, it probably would just be like, what?
That's why I was trying to kind of explain
it. And I think
but
you- I
not
think you did a pretty good-
overcomplicate it.
Yeah, I think you did a pretty good fucking job
Yeah.
of it. At the end of the day, it just sounds wild as fuck.
Dude, it is
It's just crazy shit.
like, yeah, during the races, it's Mexico, man.
Yeah.
Like there's
Hectic.
like I was overtaking horses. Like
What
dude,
the
there was
fuck?
one point I was riding through a riverbed, like it had water in it. Like we were riding through like a pretty shallow river.
Yeah.
And they call them gauchos, which is like Argentina cowboys.
Yeah, right.
And like, dude, they look like spirits on a horse. Like they have these big long black things with like
Really?
cowboy hats. And I'm like, dude, if I die and you came up to me, I'd be like, that's death.
Wow.
Like, and they're just cruising along. Like, I got lost in one spot where it was like complicated with all these fences, and like this gaucho popped up and was just like, you need to go that way.
No
And I'm like,
shit.
Thanks, bud. And then just like rode off.
What the fuck?
Like, dude, it is the most wildest race.
Yeah.
And like, there was no warning about any of it. Like, I asked them, and they were just like, "No, man, you're sweet.
Really?
Horses, fucking cowboys, and hit a dog." I was hitting these little like sparrow bird things. They would
Yeah.
like you hit them flat out.
Really?
Like I was headbutting them, and they hit your chest, and they don't hurt. Like they're
Yeah.
tiny as birds.
It's pyong, pyong.
Yeah, but like you hit them flat out because like they're not used to a tiny bike going 130 k's an hour through the desert.
Yeah.
So they fly down in front of you, and you just smash them.
Oh, brutal. fucking brutal. All right, well,
All right, yeah, I'll
that's
stop.
that's
I'll
on.
stop
That's
there,
literally. I
yeah.
think we're on 2. Is that 2 hours on the dot? Almost. So it's good because if we keep it just under 2 hours, it looks less intimidating for
Yeah.
people when they go to click it. Oh, 1 hour 52 seconds. I'll watch that. 2
Yeah.
hours 1 minute. Nah.
Yeah, nah, too much.
It's crazy. But thank you very much, bruv. I'm sure we'll probably get you on next time you're around anyway for just a general.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
probably a lot of things we
This
just
was pretty
banter
in-depth
about.
with that one race.
Fully,
Yeah.
but that's obviously fucking fresh. You've just done it. It's sort of good to fucking touch on. But
Yeah.
we could, like I said, we fucking yarn about some bullshit. We've got like a lot of similarities, but then we're also very different. But that's where we merge very well.
Yeah.
And I think we could hit a lot of them. But for now, I need a fucking ciggy. I need some food. I need a drink. We're about to go fix some Falcons out the back and send it. So,
I want to start the trek home.
and then you gotta get home.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, brother. You're
Thank
a fucking
you.
sick cunt.
Thanks,
We'll
Mark.
see you again on the next one. And cheers for coming, ladies and gentlemen. You catches.
My die!